Okay, and we're recording. As soon as I started that, my computer goes like, "I'm mad at you. Low system requirements. What's going on here?" It kicked the CPU usage up to 28, which is okay. We'll get through it. So, before we get into all those details, I'm Brian Kynes, as always, the creator of the Tales of Ulran campaign setting. We use Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition heavily homebrewed to play through our game, and the plethora of awesome people that are meeting me once again on this Sunday afternoon are helping me write it another chapter at a time. We'll go through brief introductions of everybody. We're glad to see some folks back. This is a working person's game. So there's ones we can make, there's some we can't make, but it's great to have as many folks as we do today. Let's go ahead and start with Colby.
My name is Kobe, and I'll be playing Killtusk. He is a barbarian slash ranger mix. He has a beast companion named Loki, who is this wonderful creature behind me.
Right.
And he's also a native to the islands we are currently at.
All right. Thank you, sir. Corey, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm kindly Corey. I play Darius. Yeah, it's up backwards of your name. I just thought about that. It was random. Sorry. Yeah, I play Darius, the human bard who is currently trying to be strategic so as to not die, and finding, unfortunately, that we're probably fucked either way. So, yeah, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And rolling on that tide of inspirational speech, let's go ahead and introduce Danny.
Danny McGuffey. I play Bast. He is a elven rogue turned celestial warlock after a bond with an angel.
Nicely done, sir. That's a new one. That was pretty clean cut and dry right there. I like that, man. Let's go ahead and move over to Bella.
Hi, my name is Bella. I play Silouan, the avian maiden of song bard turned Skylancer, which is, pretty cool.
Thank you, Bella. And Sean, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Sean. I play Celine, formerly known as Shade, the rogue monk multi-class changeling.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad we were able to join us. Sean's trying to get his foot in the door as far as his career and his passion and stuff, and has been gone for several weeks, but we're glad to have him back this afternoon to kind of help us. And then last but certainly not least, Mr. Keaton, go ahead.
So my name is Jeremy. I am playing the badass paladin that is a human spirit named Merc, who pilots basically an angelic body battle armor by the name of Brahmas.
Awesome, and thank you. And Jeremy could possibly be out on call this afternoon, so we will only have video of him once he's able to get home and settled. So I think that's everybody. Let's go ahead and talk about where we were, and then we'll get into where we're headed. Okay? So quick follow up into this because now that we've played a couple weeks ago, the descriptions of all this stuff don't have to be so long. I'm in the moment more now that we're playing consecutive weeks. It's been nice. Darius had some success with the Ozamen, finding out a lot of things about where they're at. Went through kind of this primitive battle map kind of strategic planning with a group of them. Come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Helped them mix up a concoction, some kind of arcane powders and stuff that they're going to use to put frost runes out along some of the main entranceways to the east and west of the Water Temple of Yoda. We're going to get into that with Corey after a bit. Like I always try to remind everybody, in our game, people go any direction. So we have Corey doing this thing, and we have the majority of the group doing one thing. So we're going to try to jump back and forth and keep everyone entertained as best as we can with that. I'm going to have Corey do some rolls to see how these other Ozamen are able to accomplish their goals. And then, Corey, you got some kind of bonus from a concoction, a drink these guys are passing around, some jungle hooch. If I'm not mistaken, they had the ashes of actual slain Vasilians in it, which was nice. It was good. So do you still have those bonuses and stuff written down that gave you? Okay, sweet. All right. And once again, everyone make sure to have pen and paper handy for the plethora of things that could be thrown our way today. The rest of the group. Has anyone, and it's been a busy week, has anyone had a chance to watch any of the last video at all? When I was going back through and I was editing and I was watching everyone's faces and all the shit that was going down and trying to just survive and get through that, that was interesting. That was super interesting. The roles involved, the natural 19 that brought out this elder Vokili Khan reptilian dinosaur, you know, and now we're kind of stuck in the aftermath of it. We did some rolls, and we figured out this herd of stampeding dinosaurs that were just going out of sheer fear. We're able to knock this thing off its feet and down on its side and hurt it significantly. But this thing isn't like a 90-year-old person with a bad hip. This thing doesn't just get knocked down and stays there. So now we're caught into that situation. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and start with that conflict and kind of see how this goes. We're going to use theater of the mind for this one. So when we jump into it, I've got some music and some different things we're going to put on and kind of go through this. And if anyone has any questions about where exactly you're at or what exactly it is you're doing, just ask me. I'm going to take some little notes and write it down. What I would like to do, once I get this going here, I want to ask everybody about where they think they're at in this scene that we're getting ready to go through. Because I know that Bastille, I've got an idea where some of us are. But I want to kind of get everybody's thoughts on how far back they think they are as far as feet and distance. We said that this thing was at least a mile and a half, a couple miles across this big clearing. We know that the rain's coming down fairly heavily. Everyone's always nervous about the Quetzalcoatl catching wind of us, seeing us. We know that the predatory creatures of these islands are hungry. They're in this state of constant fear where they don't go out and do things normally. Nothing in this place is normal right now. Okay? And I remember that we did the calls. We were able to hurt them. That's how they ran through. We're going to go ahead and say that those creatures that were running by and were stampeding, there was the one that was in the Vokilikon's mouth that it had bit onto, and it was hardcore. And after doing some rolling, which I'm getting ready to do right now, I knew that there was some that were going to be brave, possibly, and stick behind and swat at this thing and try to help free its companion that is being bitten onto.
We had driven the mass bunch of them, like the stampede over top.
Correct. And then some of them hit the legs, which toppled it, and some ran by and did not. So, of those, we have one singular one. It could have been one or two of them. So we're going to have one of these dinosaurs actually staying behind and swatting at that one. So I would like to say possibly these two look like they could be mates. Or this could be the child of the other one and it's being protective. Something to that effect. So it's going to be staying behind out of that natural animalistic instinct. Okay? So let me write this down. Okay. So, let's go ahead and talk about the order in which this is going on. So I'm drawing a line over here, and I'm talking about where the wood line is. Okay? Now, I know this thing didn't want to come out of the wood line, but eventually it did stampede and come out of there. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it was 35 foot out from the wood line, where the woods get dense on that eastern side. Mind you, we're wanting to go, well, if you have to imagine the distances here, imagine we're wanting to go north, straight across this field. This thing was on the eastern side. Remember, the stampede kind of ran at that angle. So it's at that northeastern piece of the pie here, okay? So that's how I'm going to draw it up. So I'm going to draw up the big bad. Okay. And I'm going to put down here, he's 35 foot away from the side. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll and see where this other dinosaur is. And Colby, if you don't mind, look up and see what the name of that damn dinosaur is, if you can find it on there while I'm doing this. Begins with an A. What is it?
It's an ankylosaurus.
Ankylosaurus, thank you. Okay.
So before you draw too much up,
Yep.
you know, Bass would be thinking this thing is occupied. It's trying to eat one. The other one's fighting it. Why are we going to stop to fight it? Let's move while it's distracted.
Okay. I don't see with it being distracted with the one that's mouth as it was running out towards us. Are you thinking about just, because if I remember correctly, everyone was hauling ass, correct? Everyone's
Yeah.
like straight up hero galloping to get out of there.
And if we go past it, I mean, the worst thing you can do with a wild animal, if it has prey,
Mm-hmm.
is get involved. Like, you know, if you see a bear eating something, let it eat and walk around it. You're fine. But if you start messing with it, and if it's already in a battle and it's trying to eat one, you know, it's got two meals that are fighting back right now.
Fair.
It's hard for me to imagine that thing has that, you know, we know dinosaur brains are tiny. Well, they don't, but it is an animal. So
It is not that hard for me to imagine it wanting to bite you in half. So we're on different sides of the spectrum. So we'll see how we go. All right? Because I can imagine that it comes out of there and sees this and starts chomping at stuff coming at it. And then there's a herd of slower, much more less shelled things coming that direction. Well, just a plethora of all different kinds. I think we're going to have to let dice decide. Yeah, what's up?
We did say that it got knocked down. It just wasn't stunned or anything, right?
Correct. It is laying on its side currently. It hasn't used half of its movement to correct the situation yet. Okay? So, as I was saying there just a second ago, so I know where everybody's at. Okay? I've got it over here on the side because I have to know if people are going to run, how close they are, where they're fleeing to, things of that nature. Needs to be mapped out. So, Danny, you and Shakoma were still within 10 foot of each other, correct?
mm-hmm.
Okay, and the stampede had taken off ahead of you. Now, did you guys split? Did you all split apart so you could herd?
And she used animal noises to make them think of Okilikon was chasing them to move them that way. And I used a globe of darkness to scare them the other way.
Okay.
So it kind of funneled all of them towards it.
So I'm thinking of a distance here of roughly, what's a basketball court again? How many feet? Anybody there? 150?
Yeah, something like that. It's
Like, okay.
because it's barely half a football field.
Yeah, let's go of 150 foot. Okay, that's how far you and Shakoma are from it diagonally in a triangle-like pattern from what's going on. Okay, we'll put this down here. I'm going to put Bast. I'm going to put Shakoma. All right, now way on back there, Jeremy is waiting to be admitted into the waiting room. Let's do that. Okay. Okay. So on back there, we also have Jeremy and we have, we have Brahmas, and we have Silouan. You guys were on the Warhorse, correct? Okay. And how far you didn't come out until these two were quite a ways up there. So you guys are quite a distance off. Still in the background. And as this was going, if I'm not mistaken, you were just starting to go across the water and go straight towards the other side of the woods where we were wanting to go, and you were just taking off and going once you saw shit hit the fan. Is that right, Jeremy?
Yeah, we were booking it pretty hard.
Okay. So go ahead. Let's roll some dice here. Bella, you roll 1d20. And Jeremy, you roll a 1d20. And tell me what you both get. What'd you get?
I got a nat 20.
I got a nat 1.
You got a nat 1, and what did you get, Jeremy?
A nat 20.
A nat 1 and nat 20. Okay, so if I'm doing that in tens of feet, 200, 210
Dice
foot back
hate
from them.
me.
So as we're going backwards, so the Warhorse is going this direction. I'm going to point direction it's going in. I'm going to put a Warhorse. I'm going to put Brahmas. I'm going to put Silouan. And you guys are 210 foot back behind Bast and Shakoma. Okay? All right. Now we have Valdera, Celine, and Killtusk talk about. Killtusk, talk to me about where you're at. You were pretty close to where Brahmas and Silouan were riding at, correct?
Correct.
And did you jump on Loki, or were you not on Loki?
I think I was still on Loki.
Okay. So, as they're running, did you want to follow up beside them? Did you want to lead that, or were you behind them?
We'll go behind.
Okay, roll me a 1d10.
Here. One.
You are right on their ass. You are eating the mud off of the back of this Warhorse as they are straight getting it. Loki is not happy with the mud flapping that's going on right here. Okay. It's so, my diagram is so fucked because I've got like 210 foot, 1 foot. So yeah, grid paper be damned on this one, everybody. Okay, so Sean, Valdera, you were riding on Rowdy the dire board, and we were just straight getting it, and I rolled a nat 1 on a animal handling check, and shit went bad. So there was different rocks and different potholes of water out here where the water is swelling up, and it's actually much softer than you would think it would be. So I want you to roll me a 1d4, Sean. A 1 is we get sunk in mud and flip off the thing. A 2 is we get thrown off and projectiled forward because of a rock or something that it tripped on. 3, and I'm going to say that there's a chance that we sustain injury from him just stopping suddenly from fear and throwing us off. Kind of like when you see horses decide they're not going to jump that shit. And 4, it's not as bad as we thought. So roll 1d4 and tell me what kind of fate we have.
I got a 4.
Thank you. And Valdera thanks you, right? So, we end up, he ends up going down on the knees, turns sideways because Valdera does not know how to handle Rowdy, but Rowdy knows how to handle himself, right? And in that moment, he's able to get his knees down into the side there, and we're off Rowdy by 1d10 feet. Go ahead, Sean, and roll 1d10 for me.
Ten.
10, of course. Okay. I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to roll a 1d20 and see how many feet away from Jeremy and them that we are. Each one equals 10. Each equals 10 foot. Problem. Well, no, we all have the same time. But we did stop. They kept going. So each one equals 5 foot. What do I got here? Okay, 11. 55 foot back. We are collecting ourselves and trying to get back on them and get caught up into the race. Let's go Rowdy. And Valdera. And Celine. Okay, so everyone's straight booking it to we're going to consider the north, trying to get across this plain. So Bastille, let's get you into the moment here, okay? This happens, and you see the creature getting caught up into the teeth. You see Shakoma stand up, and her natural instincts is just what she does. She kind of stands up, kind of heroine-esque, right? And grabs the chakrams from her side, and she bends down as if she's getting ready to engage this thing. But you've had another thought here. You're thinking, man, why do that? Right?
Okay.
So say something to me, and I want you to roll persuasion. And use your character's words here and tell me what's happening, buddy.
So get down. This is not our battle. Let them do it. Save yourself for the one that matters. Persuasion. 24.
A 24 naturally, huh?
Total with bonuses.
Okay. So, let me see how she does here real quick. Let's just have some fun. I'll just put up on the screen. Okay, so let me do my dice roller. Okay, and let's say that if she beats you in this, her will overtakes this. I'm gonna do a charisma because of how much she wants to get into this. Okay, so we're gonna do a 1d6 and a 1d20. And what'd you get naturally? It was
24 total.
24.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, it'd be
17
really
with a +7, 3 from charisma bonus and 4 from proficiency.
be really hard for her to beat this. So let's see how we go here. 15 doesn't quite do it. So with that, she's going to look over in your direction and just seem a little bit disappointed and stuff like that. Now, tell me about your body language, because as loud as these stampeding things were, and with your creature going down the side, and you just feel the reverberation going through the ground, the splash of the water. A whisper's not going to reach her real good here, but give me some body language. Like, are you saying, like, get down, or how are we doing it?
Yeah, he's like, he stands up enough to get her attention, and he does kind of yell it to her because that thing should be so focused, and he's watching to see if it changes his focus too. But
I want it to be focused too, Danny. You're like, but Brian, it should be so focused. It's like, I get it, man, I get it.
I keep thinking like a lion after it's ran down one zebra. The rest of them go by it, and it doesn't care.
Now you're even getting metaphorical. Now you're just insulting my intelligence. It's all good. All right, so, with that, you have persuaded her to follow your lead. Where are you going? Which direction?
Now I want to turn back and signal everybody else, and I tell them to go wide.
Okay, so
go wide.
Here's the issue. We know now because we did some things here. And does everyone kind of pretty much agree with that setup? I mean, I just kind of wanted to make it random, but that shit matters right now because we're in a combat of saving our asses. We're fighting each other right now, really. So in that moment, they are 210 foot away. Okay, so that may not work. So as you turn around and you're going to signal them, you take in a moment that this is a distance. Okay? I want you to roll me a intelligence check. Just straight intelligence check.
Nat 20.
A nat 20?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I will give you a moment here to think of a clever way to get them signaled.
Well, he's a lot smarter than I am, but
I'll give you a moment here to think about
He casts minor illusion and uses the words "go around."
it. Right till you do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, so
And Colby is from the island.
vacancy. Yeah, I like the flashing sign. Okay, so as you turn around, go ahead and take off the magic points for me, please. And just for the hell of it, roll me a 1d20 for casting that spell. I want to see how much flair this has.
14 plus. That's. Do you use your spell attack modifier for that? Because if so, it'd be a 24, if not a 14.
I would just do it like, yeah, a spell attack modifier.
Yeah, okay, 24.
24. This is impressive, sir. So, are you wanting this to be big, bright, and lit? Are you wanting this to be a certain color particularly? What are we talking about, boss?
You know the Beetlejuice sign?
Absolutely.
That's what we're going for.
Are you telling them the diner's open? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm a fan. Okay, so I can't wait to get Kill Tusk's reaction to this shit. Okay, so Jeremy, as you're like, you know, put me in the moment. What's the last thing you said to Silouan as you kick the sides of this iron beast, man, and you guys are starting to rocket going straight north? You see that they ran into some trouble up there. At this distance, I don't even think if you're not even sure or not if they were trampled at this point. You heard the monster call, right? You heard there were things going on. With this high grass and all the chaos and the mud and shit flying around, what was it you're doing in this moment? Give me a rough idea, then I'll have you do some rolls, Jeremy.
So, I know that Brahmas is basically trying to lead the charge through all the noise and everything else to try to get to safety. Has he laid eyes on this Bokilikon yet?
Absolutely. You could not. It's yes. I mean, this thing is ridiculously tall. It let out that large roar. It's what got these things, you know. You saw it jump up and grab that one and bite it and just burr, and then take its head and knock off 3 of those from one side and 2 on the other. And you would have saw the globe of darkness. Roll me a perception check. I'll tell you how much you did see, right? I think that's fair.
Second here. That perception, right?
I did, sir. Unless you can debate with me to be something else. I'm always up for that.
Oh, I don't think anything. That's a 4.
Okay. I've already told you too much. With a 4, you know too much. Okay?
I feel like that, yeah, let me think. I would have needed a perception check to at least see the Bokilikon being the towering structure that it is.
Yeah. So, with that
Brahmas
4,
is fearless, but Brahmas is not stupid.
you're hoping not. But he did try to sneak out there. But it would have worked if we wouldn't have come across, you know, those pesky dinosaurs like Scooby-Doo. It would have worked, too, if it wouldn't have been. So,
Right. So seeing that thing up ahead, there's definitely the brakes are getting kicked real hard,
mhm.
and
It is to the northeast, and you guys need to head north. And I'm not talking about the way the map works. I'm just talking about the battlefield, okay?
Right.
You
'Cause
want to cut
I
straight
kind of
across.
imagine that he was heading straight in that direction, and then he's seen the Bokilikon basically right ahead. So it's basically Tokyo Drift right now to edge to go back north.
Okay, give me an animal handling with advantage because you were the one that has summoned this thing, and I want to hear what you're talking to Silliman about.
All right. So as he goes to really put the brakes on this thing, Silverman will see him kind of turn around, hold on tight.
Be careful with the brakes here. You might kick Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
Let's say 15 and a dirty 20. So dirty 20.
good deal. So, 30-20. No bonuses here. Yeah, you're able to get it kicked around sideways and works just fine. Now, Silverwood, do me a perception check. Tell me what you're doing in this moment. Because, mind you, there's a lot of spells that people have and things that work a long way off. I want to give you guys the opportunity to do something if you're clever enough to do it in this moment. You are 210 feet away from where all this shit kicked off and the stampede took, and that's going to be quite a distance, even almost double that, to the wood line. So Silo and Jeremy says that he kicks the war horse over hardcore, and you're headed a different direction. You're getting ready to get into water, and water's starting to kick up around the hooves as it's all just flooded flatland right here. What is it you're doing?
Let me roll, but I'm looking at my spell list currently, and there's not much I really can do.
Okay.
Let's see. I rolled a 17 plus. You said it was a perception?
Yes, ma'am. Wisdom.
So +1, so 18.
Okay. With an 18, you can perceive that the Vokilikon has bit onto one of these stampeding, and it's amazing. You're just now starting to see dinosaurs. You're just now starting to see things in your life, Silliman, right? But you see this monstrosity come out of the woodline and bite onto this creature, and it's holding it up like a dog shaking a hockey puck. Man, just getting after this thing, and you see another one of its kind standing strong against it, swinging this large bone tail against the legs of it, trying to get it to let go, and it has this kind of like a mooing kind of sound, like an angry bull is the sound this plant-eating herbivore dinosaur's making. You would have seen the globe of darkness from Bastille. You would have seen Shakoma doing the monster call, trying to herd in the stampede, and how it actually was able to knock the Vokilikon down on its side. So you're seeing a flat slashing tail, mud and earth getting slammed around. You're hearing fighting and shit. That's what you're seeing right now. You can't see Valdera or Shakoma, though. They're kind of hidden down.
So I can't see Valdera or Shakoma. Can I see Bast?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean Valdera. I meant Bast and Shakoma. Sorry.
So I don't have much I can do in terms of spells, and then or attacks, but I do have my new little friend Solo.
Yes, absolutely you do. Yes.
So anyway, I could be like, "Hey, do you mind checking to see if they're there?" Kind of like a signal to the bird to be like, "Hey, can you check it out? Like, not get up close to potentially get hurt,
Okay.
but get close enough to signal
just
like,
give me
hey, they're okay."
Give me a persuasion. That's charisma. I want to see how well you're able to convey. Are you wanting it to go see them? Are you wanting it to guide them? Or what is it you want this thing to do? This creature's quite intelligent.
I mean, at this point, it's more. I think she's more worried about to make sure that they're there. I think she is full confident in Bast and Shakoma's abilities to get themselves out of there. But if the bird wanted to, then yeah, because I know it was sort of established that it is definitely a more independent being. But her request right now is just to see if they're alive or, not trampled.
Okay. Go ahead and say something, and then roll your check, and let's see how it goes. Let's not make this charisma. Let's make this animal handling.
No.
Ah, floor dice.
Let's see. I know what I'm gonna re-roll that.
Okay.
18.
18's not bad.
Animal that's another +1, so that's a 19.
A 19?
And I think she's just sort of saying like, "Hey, I know we're new to being pals here, but do you mind checking out to see if your boss and my friend is still alive, or your not boss?" I'm trying to think what Shakoma would be to the bird.
Right on. I don't know. Go find them. Go make sure they're safe. Something. I don't know what you would call. You might even stumble on your words, which is why you don't have a 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, in that moment, the bird flies off in their direction. It wouldn't have time to get there yet, as you're still on the back of the horse holding on. Just for the hell of it, I would like for both of you. He did an animal handling and stuff like that. Give me a athletics or acrobatics check, either one you choose. Still one?
Both of us?
Just you.
Just me.
Just you.
Mm,
What'd you roll?
so you said it was what or what?
She's trying to pick the lesser acrobatics or athletics. One's strength, one's dex.
Yeah, I rolled a 4 and that's +4, so that's an 8.
Jeremy, as you kick and she's talking to the bird and things like this, she gets lost in a moment and starts to fly off the back of this thing. You can roll me a dexterity check, a DC of 20. I'm going to let you go ahead and grab a hold of her. If not, she's flying off the back of the horse, sir. You kicked it hard sideways.
Dex
Tokyo
check or dex
Drift
save?
were your words.
Dex check or dex save?
It's a dex check.
Is there also a chance that I could catch her?
We're going to get there. I know you are going to use that to your advantage come hell or high water. I love it. Okay.
10.
Yeah. As you start to go off the back of the horse, as the bird's just flying off, not even looking, you feel, your stomach lift up and you're just like, huh? Right? And the way the horse kicked, you go flying off the back of this thing. Someone not proficient in riding. In this moment, with the rain, it's all adding up. And as that happens, Kill Tusk, roll me a acrobatics or an athletics, your choice. Tell me what you get.
Athletics or acrobatics?
Okay.
Okay. I'm more proficient in dexterity, so we'll go that way.
Okay. What'd you get, sir?
18.
An 18. I will say you're able to react. What is it you're trying to do here? As you see her come bailing off towards you and Loki, as you are only like within 5 foot of the back of this thing. She comes flying off in a big way. You hear the armor scraping against the metal parts of the warhorse. The helmet's getting twisted sideways on her face. You hear, what are you doing, man?
If able to, I'll either grab her by maybe the middle of her armor, of like her chest or back, or if not, maybe an arm, and just like try to pull her behind me.
Okay. Animal handling check. You're able to react and you pulled it off. Let's see how well you're able to guide Loki and keep this going. If you do well, you got this.
22.
That'll do, sir. So, nice moment, Silwan. He's able to grab on to some of the in-betweens, which is actually a word. I looked that up like years ago, and it's a long story. In-betweens different pieces of the armor, is able to hold on to you and get you bounced up on top of Loki. And now you are both astride on Loki for a current moment. That'll reduce his speed by 10 foot, but that puts him at still way better than a person running. What is your reaction?
Thank you. Oh my god. Thank you. Thank you. And I don't think, have I ever discussed how big Silwan is in my head, or no?
Yeah, please go ahead. In this moment, I think everyone would like to know.
Yeah. So it's funny, I play 2 games, so my other character I picture is very tall. Silwan is the exact opposite. I picture her as a very sort of short woman. I don't think she's particularly tall in stature, so I imagine she may only be like 5 foot, 5'2" or something like that.
Avians are typically small and thin boned just because of their wings and their natural build, but you're saying you are particularly short, correct?
Yeah, she is, I think, like, even in the avian sort of world, she was sort of a runt in many ways. Not only from, like, the differing appearance and not being perfect porcelain angel, like with the gap in her teeth and different stuff like that, but on top of that, being particularly petite.
Well, it's interesting. Avians are actually normal, if not run just a little bit taller sometimes. So you being just a little bit shorter and the gap in teeth like that, it's interesting. So, with that, you were on the back of here. What was Loki's regular speed, Colby?
60 foot.
Yeah. I mean, so it's going to be knocked down to like 50. And you're still doing double that when you're dashing, so that's awesome. Okay, so As that is all going on, Celine, you guys are quite a bit back. What did we say we were? They are from here to there was 35 foot. From there to there was that. The 210 was from Bastille to us. You were 1 foot back from them. And how far back were we? It was 55 foot. We are 55 foot back. Roll me a perception check, Celine. Wisdom.
That's an 8.
An 8. You're able to see that they're having a hard time up ahead of you, but they just seem to have been kicking hard to the left as we are scrambling to do what exactly? Valdera is looking back at you, and she's just now picking herself up out of the long wet grass and mud and shit like this, and she seems to have hurt her leg to some degree as she's using her sword to push herself up. A very stressed look across her face. And she looks at you urgently. Celine! Come on! And she goes and she's headed back over to Rowdy, and Rowdy is shaking off thick mud that is splattered on the whole side of the body and is trying to circle back around to get us. What are you doing in this moment, Celine?
I'd like to do a medicine check to check out her leg.
Okay.
See what is
So
that.
you go up to her as she's going that direction. Go ahead and do a medicine check. Let me know what you get.
That's an 18.
She has rolled her ankle. Her movement is going to be halved for quite a while. But it doesn't seem like her leg or anything is broken because you guys rolled a 4. It could have been much worse.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just, once Rowdy comes along, you see her kind of grab on, but she hesitates as she's trying to pull herself up with one arm and keep herself on her sword. Rowdy's back is quite high to get back up on the creature.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting back up onto Rowdy as well?
I'm gonna tell her that she can probably move faster without me.
Okay.
Just to take, I'm gonna command Isadora to ride on Valdera's shoulder in case she needs anything. I can probably move faster on my own in the general direction.
Okay. So, now understand, now Rowdy's movement is like 45. So, I mean, it's a little bit marshy and he can book. So, but that's just knowledge for you to have. Okay. With that, roll a persuasion to see if Valdera's buying that shit or she's going to argue with you.
That's 19.
Okay. And let's do this. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Okay. 1d20 and a 1d8. And you got a what? A 19?
It's a 19, yeah.
With an 18, you beat me. Barely. So, with that, begrudgingly, she decides to listen to you as she finishes hoisting herself up on there on the bird. Isadora lands on her shoulder and she just kind of looks down. She looks over at you and she kicks the side of Rowdy, and you can hear her grab that leather strap and she just holds on. Rowdy takes off. I mean, just straight getting it. Gets his head down and starts going. Water and mud are spraying up to left and right, just leaving a big path in the grass like you're following a four-wheeler. Went through a flooded field. Where are you headed in this moment, sir?
I'm following behind, running behind. My movement speed I can keep up with.
Monks.
Yeah, with my movement speed I can keep up with running alongside the Rowdy.
Okay. As you do, Roll me a athletics or acrobatics to make sure that you're able to navigate this terrain. Rowdy's helping in making the path, but it's very strange out here with the water and the deep grass and shit like that. It would take a roll.
That's a 26.
Fantastic. You,
Yeah.
what mud? Shit. Right? Got my Danny McGuffey rolls. So, as that's going on, you are treading and just flat out getting it through here. As the group has headed that direction, I'm going to make some rolls for this Elder Vokilikon. And we're going to see if Danny has convinced me and the dice if it's able to notice what is going on. So first, I need to, let's go ahead and have some fun. Colby, I want you to roll me a 1d20 and a 1d12. Bella, I want you to also roll me a 1d20 and a 1d12. And these are going to be attacks from that dinosaur that is swinging around there at this creature as it's fallen over. Okay?
Total of 15.
Okay.
Nine.
Okay. The 15 is able to hit just because it's prone, but it does not breach. 9 misses. And I want to see if the creature, I'm rolling for the creature to see if it is able to hold on to this. Well, you know what? I think if he had have fallen, he would have let go of the one that was in its mouth. So, let me roll something here and see how this goes. I have an idea about the composure of the creature that was in its jaws. Is it going to stay and help try to fight this thing? Or was it the young one that this thing was trying to beat on the Vokilikon and let it free the smaller one? So I'm going to roll here 15 or higher on a 1d20, and this thing stays behind and is fighting alongside this other one. 14 or lower, it's getting out of here. It's booking for the wood line. 1d20, here we go. Let's go ahead and get this up real quick. 8, it's booking. Alright, so with that, the one that was in its mouth is let go. It takes quite a bit of damage. You can see some pink shell. Have you ever seen a turtle when it's, turn that light on. When you see a turtle that's been injured real bad, or like something in the wild, there's pink scales that are pulled off the shell on the back and things like that. It's injured, but it lets out that painful mooing sound as it runs through the brush towards the wood line to follow the rest of the herd. What could possibly be the parent or maybe a male that was protecting the herd is staying behind and is fighting the fight. Okay, now I'm going to do some perception checks for the creature and see what it can see. Okay? So, 1 through 10, it's focusing on just the battle it has at hand. 11 through 15, it's going to notice Bastille and Shakoma. 16 through 20, it's going to see that there's a field full of stuff out here going on. Okay? It's going to be a straight 20 roll here just to see what our chances are. This will decide it. Let's see what we got. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! A 2. Danny, your dream's coming true, sir. With that 2, look at him grin. No, I get it. That's cool. I'm Team McGuffey, man. It's all good. So, with that 2, this thing is so involved with trying to get back up and turning on what is now going to be the prey. Okay? So, as you're trying to book and go that direction, Danny, are you just trying to sprint down through the grass? What is the play here? You've got people's attention. You put up the sign. And I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. Bella, you would have noticed it. Celine, you would have seen this too. A very out of place, large, arcanely lit up sign above Danny that says
Go around.
"Go around." Okay? So, yes, Bella, do you have a question?
An alteration then. If I saw the sign, then she would have asked the bird if she can, if the bird can direct Bast and Shakoma then, because she knows that most likely a giant magical sign would be coming from Bast as opposed to anything else in that field.
That seems about his speed. That's his sense of humor. Yeah, you're not going to have a bunch of detour signs from the locals.
That's what I should have went with. Detour.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, oh God, or dinosaur crossing. Instead of a deer, had a dinosaur crossing sign. Some shit, but I like it, right? So I will definitely let you edit that because that is my fault. Let's go ahead and take this off again. Okay. So this big ass creature here does get up onto its feet, and these two get into battle. Okay. I won't describe too much of that, as you guys don't seem to be focusing so much on the skirmish as you are getting the hell out of here. Okay? So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say it's going to take everybody quite a bit. Is everyone just booking it for the tree line, or are you trying to get into cover again? I guess is the bigger question here. I think Jeremy's whole thing is, let's giddy up and go, because he has distance.
Get while the getting is good.
You've got Silouan hanging on for dear life on the back of Loki. You were so busy and catching her and shit like that. That's why I didn't want to have you do any checks to see what was going on. Okay, Colby? You were going to be next, but that's your shit there. You're focused. Is it everybody's intention to just book it, or Danny, or you wanting to try to find cover possibly?
I'm going to keep moving, try to get across the river.
Okay. So, and now mind you, this could have been like a creek or something like that, or an off finger of these larger rivers that go through here. You're going to be able to get through this and still touch the bottom of it. You don't believe it gets over 10 foot deep anywhere. If there's a big pothole in it, maybe. But it's going to be like waist high getting across in that direction. From the way you saw these creatures stampede through, nothing went underwater. This is just a flooded plain, okay, with a big stream in the middle.
How wide is it?
I'm going to say it is going to be 38 foot across.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting wet. I'm gonna misty step across that.
Okay. All right. So if you guys are doing that, there's this ticking clock, right? And we are more than welcome to debate about this, because this is important. Okay. I'm saying this ankylosaur. Is that correct, everybody? Ankylosaur. Look at me with my words. Words are tough. Has got limited time that it is going to be able to fight and come at this thing and survive this. Okay? How do we measure that time? Okay? Here's how we're going to do this. It's just kind of coming to me as we're going. I'm going to have you guys roll dice versus me rolling dice here. And we're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to write up here VK for Vakilikon. I'm going to write AK for Ankylosaurus. Alright? I'm going to say 4 losses and the Ankylosaurus down. That's possibly 4 turns. That's going to give you that chance to get that distance away. Alright? From this creature and beat feet. Okay? So, what we're going to do is, we're going to do opposing rolls back and forth, who loses what and how long. This thing has 4 losses. The Ankylosaurus done. And each round of this is 1. You guys get +4 in the right direction. I'm going to say you're out of its range. It reaches 4 fails first before it gets 4 successes. This thing's going to be turning and sniffing the air and seeing where everybody went. Okay? let's make this interesting. Here's how I'm going to do this. Ankylosaur is a much more bigger, much more ferocious character. So I'm going to give the Ankylosaur a 1d20 and a 1d12. Or no, sorry, the Vokelicon is going to be a 1d20 and a 1d12. Okay, the Ankylosaur is going to be a 1d20 and a 1d6. Okay, so right now I'm going to roll for the Vokelicon for the first turn. Sean, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d6 and tell me what I have to beat to take the first round. A 20. Okay, we're looking at this one here. This one here, 1d20, 1d12. Let's see what we get. $19. That was close. The Ankylosaur wins a round. We are 1 round away. 1 victory for AK. All right, Bella. Roll 1d20. Look at her. She's like, don't involve me in your shit, Brian. Roll me a 1d20.
So my dice don't like me. I don't think you want me to roll.
Listen.
And prayers.
We're going to change that today. We're going to change it today. You can do it. 1d20 and a 1d6. Big numbers. Big numbers. Come on.
That's a 12 and a 3. So 15.
15 is okay. That's doable. We're rolling a 1d20 and we're rolling a 1d12 over here. We're going to see what we get. $11, $12, $13. What did you get?
15.
Ankylosaur wins again, guys. Can't make this kind of shit up. There's 2 rounds. So, let's go ahead and put this into terms that we can understand, right?
It was
So-
15, right? Or is my
I believe
memory
you had 15. I believe you had 15. So that's impressive because the odds are really against you guys here, to be honest. Okay, but you're coming out on top. This is fantastic. So we have to imagine you guys are able to book it. Sean is able to book it a minimum of like 90 foot a turn. Right? Everybody else is up riding on things that can go even further than that, like 120 feet per turn. Things like that. So we're saying you guys are between 90 and 120 away from this conflict every time this shit goes down. Right? Does that sound fair to everybody, or is everyone on board with that? Okay. If Danny's saying yes, and I know it's good because he likes to argue. All right. So having said that, Danny, without Bastille's bonuses, roll 1d20 and a 1d6, and you tell me what you get.
22, 18, and a 4.
Really? Here we go. 1d20 and a 1d12. Let's see what we get. I got a 20. What did you get?
22.
You got a 22. You suck. 3 turns. For the Ankylosaurus, we're going to say this is like, and I keep wanting to say alpha male, but we know the alpha male is not a thing anymore after studies. It was funny, they talked about that in Critical Role the other night, and it was absolutely hilarious. I'll put a link up to it later after the show. That's 3 victories. Colby, did you roll the first one?
No,
You haven't rolled yet, have you, buddy?
not for this little scenario.
I'm going to
Other
need...
I rolled to catch a bell here, but
I'm going to need you to roll me a 1d20 and a 1d6 and tell me what you get. Excuse me. I don't want you to feel bad about this, but I'm hoping that you do a horrible job here.
yeah, right. I
I know. I'm not being pessimistic. It's all good. Tell me what you get, sir.
9.
You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. All right, so here we go. A 17 and a 4, 21. Jeremy, just for the hell of it, tell me what that looks like, buddy, as finally the Vokilicon comes back. Do you want to role play it or you want me to do it? You want to have some fun?
I'll let you do this one. I'm curious to see what you got in your head.
So the Vokilicon, I imagine, is just keeps trying to get up. And this thing doesn't want to let it get off the ground, right? That's why these first 3 attacks are working. Every time that thing uses those little angry arms and shit, and he starts pushing up and stuff, that big bone tail just comes down, bam, and knocks him back down.
In dinosaur speak, it's like off of, which one is it? Princess Bride or Men in Tights? But Nico Montoya?
Yeah. I killed your
The
family.
little ankylosaurus does,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yes.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Prepare to die. Yes. I like it, man. So the next time, I'm going to say the next 3 times, that same kind of shit's happening. That big blows from that tail are coming down on this thing. I mean, you're hearing the clash of this shit. It just sounds tremendous. This large bone club on the end of their tails. If you've ever seen a picture of what they feel like they've looked like and in the museums, it's a great hammer, dude. It's a piece of bone now. And it just smacks down again. 4th time, the thing gets spun around and misses a glancing blow, and the Vokilicon is able to get back up top. And with it beating by that much, we're talking a 21 versus a 9. I'm going to say that the creature bites onto the back of the thing and you hear it yell out in pain. Okay, it's got it grappled. Let's go ahead and do another one. Jeremy, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d6. Tell me what the Ankylosaur is doing in this situation, as it is now in the maw. The Vokilicon, and it's just got up and it's like, oh, shit's real now. And just landed down on it.
14.
14. Let's see how the T-Rex responds to that. What would the thing be trying to do? I'm just curious. You got an idea?
The ankylosaur?
Yeah.
Now that the Vocalicon's up,
Yeah, and it's bit
Oh, I
down
can
on the
see
top of it.
I can see it try if it can try to get that club tail right at the meat of the leg.
Okay.
Trying to get this thing to collapse.
I got a natural 7. A 3? Is that a 3 or 5? Dude, I think that's a 3. I got a 4 and a 3 is 7. That damn thing got its 4th win. So I'm going to say, as it's going to bite onto it and pick it up, that thing swings its tail while it's in its mouth, which would have actually, well, it wouldn't have given it advantage because it's grappled, because it'd been hard to swing. I'm going to say it swings up and smacks that sucker in the head, Jeremy, because he's got it in his mouth trying to pick it up and stuff. And as it does, just give me an idea for damage here. Roll me 3d8 plus 15 plus 10, Jeremy. Tell me what you get. Big damage rolls, and this is going to have a big effect. Little damage rolls, and we're going to make this okay. 3d8 plus 10, what do you get?
Well, that's a 7, a 6, and an 8. So that's
A 7, a 6, and an 8. I like it. Sean, roll me a Constitution saving throw for this creature to see if this doesn't stun the sucker and damn near knock it down as it took this big bone club right upside the head. It's going to be a 1d20 and a 1d6. Tell me what you get on your Constitution saving throw for the Vokilicon.
so that would be plus 10, so yeah, 31.
Yeah.
16.
16, 15 was a number to beat. You hear a loud crash as the creature goes down again from the impact of this large bone club tail up alongside of its head. And with that, and looking over your shoulder and seeing the feet fly up in the air again, we have the room that we need because of this Ankylosaur's just ferocity and anger with this creature that has attacked its herd. uh, it has been able to fell the beast, at least for now. It has given us time to escape. Is that fair? So,
Oh, wait, I think let me see.
go ahead. I'm curious. What are you doing? Did I hear kids cheering?
Yeah, we got away.
Okay. that was
Hopefully
a
not
short.
more of the combo announcements from Killer Instinct.
That was a short little bit, but I was able to hear something. So with that, you guys make it to the wood line. Okay? Danny, you're going to be the first one there. What is it that you're doing as you get into the wood line? Shakoma by your side. Still dark out. The rain. Jeremy, give me a 1d10. Tell me what we got. 10 is piss poor, and 1 is it's beautiful out. What'd you roll, you fucker?
A 9.
A 9. Just so you guys know, all the battle maps and shit that I have in store all have like sliders on how much rain, how much clouds and shit's going in, and you just been maxing them out, boss. It's good stuff. So,
Well, it's a good thing that we're doing Theater of the Mind because at this point you don't need battle maps. It's just all water.
yeah, it just looks. Let's take a picture of the ocean and put it up here on the screen and be like, you're there somewhere, right? So, as you get to the woodline, Bastille, you and Shakoma are able to get across there. Shakoma, wiping some mud off of her face and re-equipping her gear and tightening it up and looking into the distance. There were some people that I didn't account for just because there was so much going on, but I'm going to say that very close to, or in between the two groups, was going to be Baroxel and Karsu. Okay? I didn't want to focus too much on every damn thing else. We had to battle the creature, I had some fun shit planned for that. But they would be the next ones in behind you and Shakoma. Bastille, do you want a role-play moment? Is there anything you're doing once you get into the woodline as far as you want to go?
Being the young guy that he is, he looks over and smiles and he's like, told you I'd get us through it.
Roll a charisma check for me.
15 plus 7 since he's proficient in charisma. 22.
Okay. So as you say that, you can see her just kind of look over you with a little bit of disgust for just a minute. And then you see like a kind of her shoulders start to move a little bit. And you see a smile, humble and mild, start to come across her face. And she starts laughing uncontrollably at the situation and the fact that you guys are safe, and she has a really good chuckle to the point where she holds against a tree and holds her stomach to a minute, just laughing at the situation as Baraxel and Karsu come dashing past you two.
As she's laughing, he takes out that flask that he's got of the stuff that Ignatius made. That's the only liquor he carries with him, and he takes a sip and then passes it to her.
I like it. When you do that, she picks herself up, pushes her hands up off her legs, and kind of stands herself up and kind of looks at you, and she takes it and takes a large drink of it, and then wipes her mouth off with the back of her hand like this on the other side, and goes over to the wood line and is awaiting everybody else to return at that point. Okay? Hands it back to you, Danny. Jeremy, you come just stampeding in there. Do you want to paint the picture for me or use your lines, or what do you want to do, bud?
So, having crossed the river, what's the surroundings look like at this moment?
Hey.
I think I might have missed that part whenever I got up.
Okay, so what's happened is once we've come across this valley, this large piece, this large kind of like flat area, okay? Because it's so heavily raining and clouds, you know there are large mountains off in the distance. you have the feeling that at some point here, we're going to cross into the other island. Okay, the other piece of this. And as you look out into the wood line into the future, you can see that everything starts to slowly starting to go downward. Roll a perception check for me, please.
Six.
6. Some distance up ahead, you can see where the trees drop off. And there seems to be a deep ravine or crevice or something up ahead. You don't know what that means exactly, but just from the legends and things that went on here, you can't help but think that this is one. Either we're getting close to the temple, and this is some of the irrigation issues. This could be a part of the aqueducts and dam up ahead. This would be the land structure would. This would be a place where you would do it. You know what I mean? It seems to have that kind of that demographic to it. The land starts to slip away, and you see a large void up ahead. That's an empty space with low-laying clouds, and then mountains on the other side. But these are far off, shadowy images. It's very hard to make out because of the weather. Okay.
So as long as the footing's still good as he's proceeding, he's definitely going to slow down his pace a bit.
It is dense through here. There are no paths really on this spot, and the ground has a bunch of thick different trees with twisted roots and things like that, so it's much sturdier ground. And it's just that heavy rain falling off that's collected into the cradles and nooks and crannies of all the trees up above, hanging vines, ancient pieces of rock and shit like that. You can see from the destruction that this land went through at one point. There's rocks in weird positions around where they shouldn't be naturally. There's this land has regrown up from chaos where we're getting into now. Okay? Bastille, any similar questions?
He would look at Tacoma. How much further we need to get there before daybreak?
Okay, Shakoma would look over to you at that point. Jeremy, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, as long as it's tolerable footing, he'll stay mounted. But once it gets to a point that it's just not safe for the horse, he'll unmount and try to.
Okay. Shakoma looks at you, and Baraxel stays in form, and Karsu, the scion, steps off of the creature and looks over to you, looks at Brahmas, looks up into the visor. And she says, it's not much further. If you want to leave him, now would be the time. And as she says that, your vision caught on Karsu in the background. You can see the transformation happen, and Baraxel emerges from the large jaguar-like cat and takes back on a mortal form. And as he does, he pulls back the hood, revealing the stripe of mohawk hair and the badly burnt flesh and shit scars on the side of his neck and back. As he has that harsh look on him, a lot of the war paint, the blues and blacks, have kind of washed down in this kind of like Joker-esque kind of mess from what we have just been through. And he's tying up the tentacles that were the were the creature's whiskers. He's tying them back up like you'd tie the lines on a cloak and tying it around him. With that, Silwyn, Jeremy, what are you guys doing in this moment? Are you sending off the horse? Are you going to continue forward on it for a little bit? You've heard what Karsu has had to say, but you can do whatever you'd like.
At this point, I'll definitely unmount if Silwan wants to stay mounted. I plan on guiding him at the very least.
Well, Silwan's not with you.
Oh, that's right. She's on Loki.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. That's my fault. I was kind of playing with you.
So he'll definitely he'll be guiding the horse as much as he can, and basically what he's going to attempt to do if they get to a point where they're at the top of a hill or something like that, As long as the horse is within a mile, I can telepathically communicate with it. So I'd like to get it to a point where it's at some sort of a strategic point where
Okay.
it can communicate little simple ideas if I needed to of
Awesome.
the surroundings.
Okay. Shortly behind that, Kiltusk, you and Silouan seem to make your way into this situation. Tell me just briefly what you're doing, and then we'll move forward, or if there's an interaction or something you wanted to have with Abramus because he lost something. If you want to talk to Shakoma, talk about how much further it is, this gives you a minute to do that. So what would you like to do in this moment?
I would definitely go up to Brahmas and be like, and like point to Silouan and be like, I think you almost lost something.
Any reaction?
I think someone may be like, someone to clarify, but then give a thumbs up.
Jeremy, nothing to say to this?
He would look at her and be like, I told you to hang on.
Well, I was, but I think that is much stronger of a turn than I ever have anticipated.
With that, the bird comes back over to your shoulder, Silouan, and lands, and is just kind of looking at your helmet, and with the large beak, it is picking off pieces of large clumps of mud and grass. They got kind of caught up in you as you guys were following pretty close behind and got the stampeding hooves off of the warhorse. You know, you got the mud flaps like Colby was, and that large beak is just kind of picking pieces off of you as you're having this conversation. So
Ask, look over seeing that and be like, are you taking camouflage lessons from Kiltusk?
I like it.
Honestly, I think she may ignore that comment entirely and just address the bird to kind of be like, hi, sweet thing. And then just sort of, I think she absolutely heard best, but she is not acknowledging the comment because we all know the situation we came from. And I think she's going to pull out a little cracker for the bird and then check in with Karsu.
Okay. When you do that, Karsu is already making her way over towards you. Bastille, you hear a deep, robust voiced chuckle that seems to be trying to hush itself as to not get in trouble. And it's Baraxel. Based on what you say, he's like, camouflage. Yeah, he's kind of laughing at that, and he kind of dries up real quick and goes stone-faced again and continues to walk that direction. Karsu...
Be fast, you're a bad influence. Anyway.
Yeah, Karsu walks over towards you, Silouan, and assists the bird in trying to pick off some of the pieces from your armor. Ironically enough... Yeah. Karsu is immaculately clean. Through all this, almost to a sarcastic degree, although she's not saying anything, and is coming over with this kind of slight smile on her face and is starting to take things off of your armor and help clean you up too in this moment.
Thank you. You know, I appreciate this. And then I think she sort of like sticks her tongue out in Bath's direction before turning her attention back to Karsu. And just being like, so how you feeling? You certainly look better than kind of all of us, but I'm glad. How you feeling? You doing okay?
She's still looking confused at this whole tongue thing.
Oh, like,
and
you know
she's
what I mean?
Looking at you because she's used to that's how snakes taste the air. And she has that look on her face. I want you to roll a nature check to see if you make that connection.
Let's see. 16.
Sure.
Oh, and then nature intelligence plus 3, 19.
Yeah. When you do that, you understand that the cultures are so different. When you did that, you were just being Silouan, and then you are looking at someone you were having a conversation with and just saw you stick your tongue out at another person. She has probably never seen that kind of behavior or act in her life. It is just curiously looking at you with a little bit of a sideways head tilted. It's almost like she can't find the word to ask. She wants to kind of, it's like almost like, why? It's just beneath the surface.
So, where I come from, it's a way to. I'm trying to think how to describe why people stick out their tongues at another person.
Do you want a second to think about it, or are you going to go with it?
It's a playful gesture where it's more so of. I'm trying to think. Is it a playful gesture?
She's open mouthed looking at you now, just kind of shaking her head.
Me saying that out loud was to you.
Okay.
Just like I'm trying to think. Is it a playful gesture? Well, it's
As you're explaining
I am personally struggling to explain it, so I think Silouan's drawing a blank too.
As you're stuck in that moment, the heavy hoof sounds, the galloping and the slosh of Rowdy shows up in the heavy breathing of the creature as there's just mist blowing out of the large nostrils of this large dire boar as it pulls up along the side, and it has Valdera with Celine running. Celine, just for the hell of it, roll me a acrobatics check. I want to see how much mud you and shit you have on you from this. If you're super clean, that would be amazing right now.
It's a 24.
Celine looks immaculate for running barefooted through all this. And as that happens, you catch a sarcastic eye from Valdera. As she gets off and she's covered from the legs down in mud around her boots and stuff like that, and the side of Rowdy where he was all wallered and fell over and shit. And you are in good shape here, and she gives you a look. And she pets. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No. As soon as we settle, I go up to Valdera and I use my hand of healing to adjust to work on her ankle.
Okay. As you do that, and she comes over there and she's taking some of the mud off of Rowdy, you would walk up to her. What's the conversation? Because she's not just going to sit down and let you do this. She's tending towards the creature. And she looks over at you as you walk up, and she goes, "Maybe on foot was a better choice, just this once." And she's picking stuff.
For me, yes, but for you, not in this condition. And that's when I bend down, and you see the radiant energy kind of like flow through my right hand as it travels down her leg, and that's when the key point to.
Okay. And as you do this, she kind of looks back for a minute, and as that happens, you stand back up. What was the dice roll on it? How much was it? Sean, you with us, boss? Okay. So, as that's all going on,
Sorry, it's I'm finding it's 8 points of
8. That's significant.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. 8 HP. Okay. So, Mute that for me, Sean.
Mhm.
Okay. So, with that, Valdera seems to test putting a little bit of weight back on that leg again and looks and doesn't really say anything to Celine other than just kind of like a silent nod of thanking. Looks up ahead and she's looking for Bastille out of the group. Bastille, what was it you were doing after you shared a chuckle with Barax? Or were you heading deeper into this? Jeremy, were you also marching forward to kind of move this along? I know Danny said something like, how much further is it? Were you following
Yeah,
suit
no,
for that, Jeremy?
Yeah, he's pushing forward.
Okay. Bastille, same with you?
Yeah, he would be kind of paralleling the group and then moving back in, talking to Shakoma as they start walking. But
Okay. All right. So as the group pushes in further, this is what Shakoma has to say to you. Also, Kiltusk, you're more than welcome to jump in with any kind of information you think might be helpful here. You let them know. As you guys are moving inwards, let's see how everybody's traveling. You're going to Silliman. Are you getting back? Well, everyone's pretty much getting down on foot. Loki would be walking along Kiltusk, I would say at this point. You'd be leading him in through here, Colby. Okay? Just because everyone else is kind of dismounted. Unless you'd like to do something different.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, what's going on, Silwyn?
Can she give a treat to Loki?
You can try. Roll a animal handling.
Animal handling would be 13.
A 13. As you go up to do this, Loki just kind of, he's marching along and his large eyes are just kind of looking at you. You know, the creature, unless you know how to read his tendencies, seems to be somewhat emotionless, as reptiles typically are. But its eyes are wide open as it's looking through and stuff, and its head's moving forward. And as you go up and go to give it the snack, you notice that the bird that is on your shoulder is jealous to a degree. And just for the hell of it, I would like for you to roll just a dexterity check for me.
Sure. By the way, it would be like, I think, a piece of jerky as opposed to like a cracker, which what she's been giving the bird.
Okay.
He does like meat.
Yeah.
14? Oh wait, what was it? The
Dexterity?
Yeah.
14?
Yeah, I rolled a 14 and then is
Okay.
it +4 for her dex?
I think so. And you're
16?
proficient in dex. I don't remember. I think it's
Something
dex
like
and
that.
yeah. So not bad. For the hell of it, Danny, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d 8. Tell me what you get.
4.
Okay. You're able to get the food away from the bird before it is able to get it out of your fingertips. Okay, and you're able to yank that over, and as you hand it over to Loki and you're looking at the bird, all of a sudden you feel and hear a snap. And as you look over, you just have a moment to see that in this moment where you were pulling it away from the bird and giving that bird look like, what are you doing? All of a sudden, Loki has just went, shabam! And is taking that piece of jerky right from beneath your fingers. And as you look back over, he's looking at you with that big eye and just still striding along. You can see a piece of it between the teeth as he's just now curling his lips back down over. And you can hear the muscles in the throat beginning its process of swallowing. It happened lightning fast. Kiltusk, what are you saying anything in that moment?
I would be giving a light chuckle, probably knowing that has happened several times with Kill Test before.
We'll play it.
I think she's kind of like, oh, well, thank you, Loki. You and Kiltusk saved my butt back there. Thank you, Kiltusk. And I think she's addressing the bird too.
Okay.
Help me out. Don't worry. Don't worry. And then I think she fishes out like a another treat for the bird itself to kind of
Okay.
like even things out a little bit.
Okay. The next time you have an animal handling with either Loki or this bird as an interaction, you have advantage on it. So write that down. Fruits of your labor. It's all good. I appreciate role play, so it's all good. All right. So,
If she did have trouble, I planned on helping her out.
right on. I get you. So as we're moving forward, Shakoma says to Danny that she kind of stops for just a minute and she's looking down ahead as Baraxel stands up behind her and kind of looks over her shoulder. And you can see in the distance, now that we've went down in here, you can see the very top of this temple. After traveling for about 45 minutes to another hour, once we got into the woodline, it's like 5:30 a.m. It's just like, no, it'd be like closer to just a little bit after 6. And the moon is going down. Okay? Because of the constant storms and stuff, you wouldn't think that it would be getting light out here to around 8 o'clock possibly. So we're at like the 6:30 mark.
That's my window.
And when you look down the distance,
That's my window.
peeking up through all the low-lying fog and what seems like this large valley. I mean, it's wide. It's like not Grand Canyon wide, but it's pretty big. And this thing, it looks like it's been created from devastation, like we talked about before. All the trees and everything that's grown back are all pretty much the same height as a canopy. Looks like a waving, just a waving canopy of all these trees. They've all grown back from the same time. Nothing stands out other than some ancient jets of broken rock and shit that have got just other little trees living on top of them and all kinds of vines and shit hanging off of them. Whatever happened and made this valley through here was catastrophic. This is not a normal landmass like this. Water didn't just find its way into this crevice and wear this down like a normal valley or something like this would. This is broken earth that has moved apart and shifted. Okay? As you can see far up in the distance, if you look to the way you'd be facing would be west. You can see that this deep canyon leads out far, far off into what you can only imagine to be the Bay of Hope in the ocean. Okay? Go ahead and Silouan, roll me a perception check, please.
That's a 9.
Okay. You could swear that you saw some things swinging, reaching from one peak of the mountains to the other, but with the heavy rain, the only reason you thought you saw motion was the wind was blowing. You're not sure what you saw up in the distance, but you you thought maybe you saw some man-made structures, right? And as you see these things swinging, okay, deep down to the side, the top of the water temple comes into view. Okay, and Danny, you're seeing this as well. Okay, so it looks like light-colored sandstone kind of looking pyramid that is sticking up out of clouds, and if that valley gets down there and as deep as what you guys are seeing, this thing must be, it's well over hundreds of foot tall. This thing just seems to be immense. And it seems to be sitting in a place that has waterfalls running in along to the back of it, right? And it's sitting right where the ground has split. Okay? Water, you can hear rushing water now that we're on this side of the valley. It seems to be echoing up, almost like if you've ever been to a dam and the floodgates were wide open. It's almost that effect. Okay? Bastille, now that we are that close and we are in vision, we can get an eye on the temple. I'd say we're probably at least another mile from it. From the looks of things, you can see it off in the distance. Even through the rain, you can still see the top of it and things of that nature. But you also know that Vasilian must be close to. Okay? So, with that, here's what we're going to do. I say we take a 15. Now, it's already 8:30. Think about how you want to get down to this thing. If there's any questions you want to ask the locals or stuff like that. And then we'll come back to this and go ahead and go into our descent. As soon as we come back, I'll go through some things of Corey to see how the Ozaman did on laying down the frost runes and shit like that. And maybe you could possibly meet up with him and we'll continue on as a group. Does that sound pretty fair? Okay, so think about some things you're wanting to ask moving forward. And we can definitely do that. Just 1 second here. Let me get lined up. All right, we're going to take a 10 or 15 minute break. And we'll be back here in just a few. Thank you. Okay, and we're back. I believe we are. Yeah, okay. So I didn't, yeah, we're good. At one point I hit the button and I had the mouse that slipped off. I didn't pause them the right way. So, Sean's phone is dying, so he will be back here shortly. And Bella, we don't even really know what she's doing. Just making excuses, I think. She's afraid that she's going to fall off another horse. Hey, there she is. Okay, so anyway, I can't even talk shit. Everyone's on me.
That's the face of an evil schemer.
Isn't it? Yeah, right on. So, now that we've got to this point, and everyone has laid eyes on the water temple and saw how it's resting in the bottom of this massive canyon, and it's still big enough where the top of it comes through the low-lying clouds that are down in this, as waves of rain are still just coming down, pounding on top of us. We're still in a pretty decent, dense amount of tree coverage. Like I say, once we broke through that plain and got away from the Vokilikon, all the vegetation here is about the same size. The growth process all happened at the same time, but it's dense in here, okay? Like I say, many large rocks, even pieces of what may have been ruins at some point, where the earth itself just was ripped apart, things erupted and jutted out, and we know why. We've heard the legends and we found out all kinds of interesting things about what's happened on these islands. Let's go ahead and dive into Darius's venture real quick, and there's a chance he may be able to meet us out here on the outskirts somewhere. Okay? So, Corey, I've been thinking about how I want to do this because, I want you to be invested in their success since you want to take a part in this. You know what I mean? So, I have a couple questions for you, and if we don't have good answers, as a DM, I'm going to make some shit up. Okay? But I know that during the ceremony, they collected enough of this powder and had enough supplies to make several of these frost runes. Do you remember how many that was? I was thinking it was 2 for some reason in my head, but I'm not quite sure.
Sorry.
Don't be, it's fine.
Um,
Because if you don't know, we're going to roll for it.
yeah, I'm. So you said
Okay.
how many people went with the shaman?
Well, I remember the shaman went, and then he had 3 soldiers that went with him.
Right. Yep.
The 4th one stayed back behind, which is the one that had the pink scarred up belly where you had filleted and sliced and diced and chopped and hopped. And
Right.
so that one was the big badass that stayed behind. He went with 3 soldiers.
Yep.
So I'm going to say they had enough of that stuff to do 1d4 of these runes
Mm-hmm.
around there. So would you like to roll 1d4 and tell me what you get?
Sure.
I'll let their fate be in your capable hands, sir. And don't look Colby directly in the eye when you roll, because I believe that he's cursed.
1.
Yeah.
They get 1 ruin.
Okay. So we'll do this. Hmm.
I'm gonna call them shitty shamans.
Well, this seems like an awful. They went through an awful lot of stuff. I'm going to say they get one
Yeah.
extra because of what you did to help.
Yeah, because I mean the thing is, not only did I bolster his support, so
Right.
I would ask like, okay, if they went knowing what they were going to do, if they got one or two, why would they have even wasted time, right?
Right. So we're going to go ahead and roll a 1d4 and a 1 as a reroll to see how many more frost runes they get, because this will be a minimum of 3 then. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to roll the d4 right now and see what we get. As soon as I remember how to do this shit correctly. Here we go. And let's see what we get. 1 is a reroll. Boy, they don't want them to do well, do they? And 2. So we have 3 altogether. And the way you were talking about is you wanted to put 1 on the east side, you wanted to put 1 on the west side. And where were you speaking of, like, as far as a third one? Let's just go ahead and backtrack and say if there was a third rune possible from the brief glimpse that I gave you of it last episode, where do you think you'd like the next one, the third one, to be placed?
Well, I mean, did they tell me what the ruins would do specifically?
Now, when you say do, you got an idea once you were able to look at that and the shaman was able to point out the different dimensions and things like that. You learned the last episode the way they believed the Vizillion would come in from caves that were far off to the east and west, and they would approach from those two sides. They didn't make anything sound like it would come in from the back. And they didn't make it sound like anything would be coming in right directly from the front either. They made it sound
No,
like
what
it was sides.
What I mean specifically is the runes. Are the runes traps that are going to hurt the Vizillion? Are they traps that are going to stop the Vizillion from moving? Combination.
They're going to do a combination of those two things. Go ahead and roll an Arcana check with advantage.
22.
Okay, and this is because you spent so much time with them on it and watched them do it. So after having conversations with Ulran, which was the shaman, the older one, the first one that you knew, not the long dread-haired one that went out with the other 3, you have a feeling that not only do these explode, but let's talk about in D&D terms. Okay, they have a chance of freezing a person solid in their tracks, but even if they do pass the saving throw on it, it'll be as if they've been affected by the slow spell for a certain amount of time, and they'll be taking cold damage.
All right, so
Okay.
Knowing that is a thing, then the strategy I would have had them do was to place the rune on the first point before the temple. So basically, we're going to stand in front of those ruins. Those ruins are there in case they get past us to slow them down.
The first point of the temple. So,
Like the stairs, the temple stairs.
okay,
Well,
and
there's the 3 entrances, right? That we're all blocking. The
Right,
2
yeah.
big are, yeah. So those entrances.
okay, cool. That sounds good. All right, and from what you understand with a decent Arcana check just now, that they'll be triggered by the presence of a Vizillion, which means that they will be customized.
Right.
They will not interact because of the ashes of that kind being put into the rune. Now, if for some reason you're picking up a body on one of these things and you're running across there, or you've got a bunch of their blood on you or some shit, that would be debatable. So be smart. But that's maybe some things you've thought about just off the top of your head in the situation. But you believe that they are going to be respond to Vizillion steps because of their powder being inside these. And you've got 3, and we're going to place them as you've specified. Okay?
Yeah.
Now-
And are they AoE or are they just a 5-foot? Like they step on that square, that's it.
Or they're a 10-foot cube.
Okay. All right.
Yep, they're a 10-foot cube.
Okay.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's do this. Here we go. On the first one, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d6. Darius, and tell me what you get.
18.
Okay. That one is a 15-foot radius. Do it again.
Because you want them tallied together, right?
No, we're going to do them all. They can each one be a little different.
Well, what I mean is the two die.
Yes.
So 15 and then 8.
I said a 1d20 and a 1d6.
Yeah, I did it because I'm assuming you're gonna make me do it 3 times.
Yeah, all in
So
the second total was an 8 total.
Yep. 15
Okay, that's
on the
going to be your
second.
10-foot cube,
Yeah.
and then one more time.
So then it'd be so I made an 18, a 15, and an 8. Those are the 3 different ones.
Okay.
Those are the totals.
The 18 is going to be a 20-foot radius. Or 20-foot cube. 20-foot cube. Okay, so you got rune 1 is going to be 15-foot cube. Rune 2 is going to be 10 foot. And rune 3 is going to be a 20. So you got a 15, 10, and a 20. All right?
Yeah, and I assume that I don't know which ones are which because they're making them out there. So
Yes. Correct.
that'll be whatever you want to do with it.
Right on. I like it. Okay. And let's go ahead and talk about their success. Now, you bolstered them and gave them some magical blessings or something before they took off. Can you remind me what those were again, please?
I gave them aid.
Which gives them...
a plus 20 because I upped it to level 4. Plus 20. It's just plus 20 HP for 8 hours. And it's not temporary HP either. It's like if they get a little hurt and then they heal, it comes back.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So let's go ahead and do some rolls for them inside there to see how well they place these and if they're able to pull it off. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a dice to see how many Vizillion they had to sneak by to lay it down on a 1d4. Let's have some fun with this. Okay, so let's get the dice roller up here. Okay, so what this does is this makes the DC higher for each one. 1 makes a DC of 5, 2's a 10, 3's a 15, 4 Vizillion to get by to lay the rune down is a 20. Okay, so we're going to decide here how many they had to sneak by. And then we're going to do a DC, a roll for them to see if they're able to pull it off. And if not, the amount they fail by will tell me if someone died in this process, if they got caught, if everything went to shit. This is important stuff here to know. So let's have some fun with this. Okay, so this is going to be, we're going to watch the D4. This is going to be for the amount to place the first rune. They had to get by 2 of them. That's a DC of 10. Okay. These guys are rolling a 1d20 and a 1d6 for stealth. So for the first roll of that, I'd like to go ahead and ask Jeremy. 1d20 and a 1d6. Tell me what you get. You have to beat a 10.
I'm rolling for the good guys or the bad guys?
You're rolling for the good. Does it matter? Does it matter?
For the bad guys, I gotta get the dice out of the jail.
Okay, I get you. No, you're rolling to see how well the Oza men do here while Corey stares at you intensely.
14.
A 14 succeeds, but it doesn't succeed by 5 or more. So we're going to make that the 10 one. Okay? So we're going to say they were able to get that placed. I'm going to put a check beside it.
I'm a moron, Brian.
Well, now that's debatable. What happened?
I rolled a D12 instead of a D20.
This can do nothing but get better for you, sir. Now, if you roll worse than that when you roll the D20, Jeremy Keaton, what have you done?
It's still a 10.
A 10.
It's a 10.
Okay. Okay.
Moment of suspense over.
Just matching just matching that. It's not a fail, but it's right on there. I'm going to say because I can't kill anyone off or do anything really bad when it's like that. I will say one of the Ozaman soldiers ran into a trap set up by the Vasilian and was badly injured, but survived that. So I'm going to put down 1 injured. That'll come into play later when we're there and they're helping us. But they were able to get the rune put in place fucking barely. Okay? So that one's in place barely, and they have a Ozaman that is out now. Okay? What that's going to do is that's going to reduce their success dice by 2 points on the next one. Okay? So, now let's go ahead and see how many Vasilian are waiting on the next spot, shall we? 1d4 roll. Here we go. 4. That's a d20 DC. Bella. Gonna need you to roll 1d20 and a 1d6 and let me know what you get.
Are you sure you want it to be me?
I tell you what, if you want to pass it to Corey, you're more than welcome to, but he has to accept it.
Corey, what are your thoughts?
Look at him.
Don't you kill my Ozaman.
I think he's saying you go ahead and roll it. I don't know what he's saying here.
Okay. So
Oh,
it's
goodness.
A D20 and a D6, you said?
That's what I said.
Okay.
Oh my.
It's a 10.
Okay.
That was an 8 and a 2.
Okay. One of the runes fails to be put down. Okay.
I told you I wasn't.
No, it's not. It's the Ozaman. It's not you. Role play. We're supposed to get upset every once in a while. Things don't go perfect. That's the game. Okay.
My dice don't like me. That's.
I know they don't. They definitely don't like Ozaman. I'll tell you that shit now. So, let's go ahead and say I've got a magic number here, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, Corey. But I want you to roll a 1d20 for me, and I'll tell you which one of the runes was not successful, and then I'll tell you why.
It's a 19.
God damn it. The 20-footer's out. So,
Well, you gotta tell me why.
I'm
Sounds
getting
so
ready
awkward
to.
about that, Brian.
I'm getting ready to. I'm gonna immersionally put us the immersionally. That's a new word. I like it. Immersionally tell you what's going on. So,
Crap won't be able to kill some of my bad guys. Oh no!
so as they're going through and they've got the injured Ozaman and he has been poisoned by this pit trap that he's fallen into, they're trying to cater to him just a bit too much in this next one. Decides to tell the other ones, just leave me behind and finish the task. So as they go forward and they're trying to do these things, they realize that the performing of this is not as easy as it was with the other person there. As far as watching everything as they're trying to watch over the shaman and help him with the paints and do these other things, and they knock over one of these skulls and spread out the ashes. In the heavy rain, the other ones are trying to hold their hands, all 4 of their hands over top, and keep the heavy rain from blasting in so this can be done right. And they're not quite able to get in there and cover it the way they should be. And when they do, this shit just goes everywhere. It's a mess. Before he walks off, the other soldiers are a little bit too ignorant to think. They think maybe it still might work. But the Ozaman shaman knows better. He knows that they dropped the ball. And maybe they were trying a bit to be a little bit too ridiculous with a 20-footer. So that one did not work out. Let's go ahead and talk about the last one and see how many Vasilian they have to get by here to do this one. Okay. That's another 4. All right. Danny McGuffey, we need high rolls.
Yeah, but I mean, even if he gets a nat, right? Like, it's a failure because
What do I got to roll?
We failed twice, right?
Well, you know what? You make a valid point. So, if there were 4 on that one,
That's a nat. Or that's
and
a
there was
20
just
that you need.
and there was just a 2 on the last one, that was 6. That would mean there's 10 altogether that were a part of this. Go ahead, Danny, and just roll and tell me what you get, and we'll make a decision here.
All right. Natural 18 on the 20.
Okay, and a 1d6 added to that, please.
4, so 22.
Okay. Danny in the clutch. So, what you have,
Constitution check.
what you have there is learning his lesson from his mistakes the last time. He decides to. It would be neat if he had some kind of spell that gave him some kind of barrier to keep the rain elements off of them for some degree or moment. I'm trying to imagine what a spell like that might be like, if he could almost like just stop the rain from falling, or if he could cause some kind of illusion so the Vasilian that walk back and forth don't actually see what they're up to and are able to take more of their time. So, I believe druids, when is it that druids have invisibility? At what point is that, folks? Does anybody know?
Isn't that like level 10 or? Hold on.
Yeah, it's up there pretty good. I'm going to say they have this ability that helps them kind of blend into the elements around them, almost like a spell that gives you a +10 to your stealth checks and things of that nature. Only theirs is more of a camouflage type kind of thing. It makes people see them for like elements of their natural surroundings, rather than them actually being invisible. They almost appear to be like rock structures, or they almost appear to be like trees, or they appear to be like blocks of stone or things of that nature, and they try to conceal themselves in that way. Almost like when Frodo threw the cloak up over his shoulder and he looked like a boulder, and the Uruk-hai just kind of walked right past him. Okay? Something along that effect is what goes on here. That is able to let them get the last one down. The 15 foot radius one is successful. So, after all that, they've got one badly poisoned. They've got the other 2 were there. Darius. Trying to decide where would you like to position yourself. I'm going to give you the same scene that the other ones had. When you were led to the Ozaman Temple, or I'm sorry, to the Water Temple of Yoda, okay, and you were there and you watched the others. They departed off from the campsite that night before, from the Ozaman lair, and after they got up there and had enough time to do what they needed to do, you would have had to express to them that they were going to try to get there before dawn. Where would you have liked, or when would you have liked, to leave from the Ozaman pit to go that direction? Because you've got to time it right. You've got to be there before light, because you know that's the group's going to want to be there before light comes up.
Yeah, I mean, basically, as soon as my long rest is over and they're leaving, like, we're leaving as a party. Like,
okay. So, as that rest ends, it's a light sleep. It's not the normal kind of sleep that you remember from years ago when you had a lot more lavish lifestyle. It's not the fine beds and things that you used to complain about if you didn't have. It's amazing how much your life has changed. Yes.
I've spent 12 years in the fucking crazy fucking abyss.
I'm getting there. Yeah. So, it's funny. I'm literally just getting ready to get there. So, and the thing is, it didn't feel like 12 years. It feels like a strange amount of lost time. And then you strain to think about when you stopped having those comfortable sleeps. When you went off in search of these peritons, knowing that the dark place you were going to go into would give no such comforts. You feel that natural hardness, that natural toughness that you've adapted, still clinging to you so much. It's these new companions are starting to soften you back up a bit and bring you back into touch with reality. You've played the violin several times now. You're starting to get back into your natural ways, but this sleep out here on this particular morning, we should say, is hardening you once again. You wake up to the sound of murmured voices speaking in hushed tones in heavy accents, deep voices, all talking about where they're going, where we're getting ready to move to. And as you wake up, you see legs of these creatures and dangling arms and spears and the sounds of the rope bridges, like just stretching against the weight of these people and the vines and things, echo up through this pit as people are preparing to take off that morning.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, Alexa. It's fine. It's fine. So, Alexa's not sure. So, as that happens, what's the first thing that you're doing as you see some of these people are getting ready to deploy, practically?
I mean, I would envision Darius would, make some notes of the effects of the, of the song on the corrupted. Maybe take some sort of sampling, so to speak, of whatever is is here that's got this disease, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because it might be something he needs to utilize in a future state. I imagine in his bag he's probably got a couple different items of sorts that would be both of say maybe fey nature, as well as that of from what some might call hell or the other side. I
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
But basically things that he could utilize to test in spells to further along.
Okay.
If you can figure out why something corrupts, if you can deconstruct that, re-engineer that, maybe you can figure out how to heal it.
As you're sitting there thinking about these things, you see several soldiers going by, and a large corrupted Ozaman pushes through them, almost like bullies in a high school hallway, right? And it's funny, the body language and the chemistry that these two, what almost appear to be separate species now, have an interaction with one another. These corrupted ones just seem to be driven and in a hateful state, and in a state of deepened reflection as to some kind of evil inner working that eludes you. You've seen the kind of powers they possess. You've seen the disformity that they have from this. It's interesting. It's interesting looking stuff. And as it goes by, it stops for a minute. It looks back over top of its shoulder, and it has a radiance into its eyes, a deep crimson, as it looks to you, and its lip is curled to a degree. It has one onyx, what looks like a horn, that's growing out of a weird angle of its head, and the nub of another one over here on the side of its cheek that's kind of coming out sideways, almost like a ram's horn, only sideways, starting to come out and curl around the mouth. As it looks over through that at you, it looks over to your violin. hanging at your side and stares at it for an uncomfortable second or two. And looks back up at you and begins to march on. Interpret that however you will, but that's what just happened.
I'd like to interpret that with an insight check.
Go ahead. Well, I mean, really, at this point, that is completely up for your interpretation, sir.
Yeah, it definitely is with a 4. I mean, hold on. What's my insight? Should be pretty high. So it'll be a 14.
Yeah.
So.
And really, you have a Corey moment in this. I'm not putting any kind of restraints on you at all. How you want to see it, look into that.
Cool. So here's how I would read this, right? Like, first off, I would while they are corrupted, you know, and while they, you know, because you kind of made a comment about how almost like it's something new. It's new to Darius, except for the fact that it's very parallel. It seems similar to what he is going through. The difference is, whereas he was corrupted by a curse, so to speak, or whatever, lycanthropy is. Most call it a curse.
Mm-hmm.
That this is like a land-based curse. So his is like more blood-based, maybe something like that. Whereas this is like the land, and the people around the land are getting affected by it, almost like a blight. So it's similar enough to where he can empathize with the drivenness. Like, he gets it. They're driven to find a cure. He's driven to find a cure. So I think he would kind of read that almost like the first time he wrote the lament and he tried it and it failed.
Yeah.
You know, like, this failed, this corruption. It's not what they needed. It bolstered them, but it wasn't the fix that they wanted, that he wanted and hoped for. So it was kind of like that, you know, try harder.
Oh, I get you. Okay, that's interesting.
That's how he reads that.
Okay. As they're all doing these things and moving forward, you see the one shaman that you've had a relationship with so far at this point comes walking up in the distance. As you see several more of these corrupted seem to bow their heads down and step away almost in shame, and things like that, as he looks up proudly at them with the fogged over blue glazed eyes and the long white and dirty hair and the trinkets hanging off of the staff. And he walks up past you and he stops and looks over to you. Have you already sat up and started preparing yourself, or are you still in a laid down state?
Yeah, no, I would have been up and probably outside.
Okay, we're gonna say, like, these are somewhat huts, or like probably like literally 10 foot around with like different large leaves and circular, and you would have gotten up out of that. And as he stops and looks over, he has 2 soldiers that are dressed up for battle. And you haven't seen this much. It's interesting because the ones you fought in the test of courage were not wearing this kind of stuff. And these guys are dressed up in some kind of primitive, like, bone-made armor that is... You couldn't imagine how a person could move in this shit, but it just makes these soldiers look intimidating as fuck. Okay, just the way it adheres to them, the kind of different pieces of animals that they've made these out of, the hides that are stretched across them. They're almost part armor, part show of dominance into things that this is like they're wearing trophies made of bone and hide and things of that nature. And as they walk across there, you can see that the one that you're with has a large head of what seems like a displacer beast on one shoulder, and has the hide of it hanging back around, wrapped around his neck and thrown over top of the other shoulder in several different pouches, way more than he had before, with all kinds of trinkets and shit in him, painted up with all kinds of different blues and yellow designs. He's ready for whatever they're getting ready to go into. It reminds me, it's almost akin to the movie Big Trouble in Little China, when they're all getting ready to go down to the underworld, and old Egg Chen's sitting there with that 6 demon bag, and he's shaking it. They're getting ready to go. You know, if you've ever seen that movie, awesome movie. So, that's what's happening. He holds out the one hand to you, and it comes up big in front of you, the black one. He ushers out the way, and he says, the others have had time. We leave under the veil of night, before the sun rises. Are you ready?
Are we ever ready? I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
He looks at you for a long moment, as if you're a little bit of backwardness in that situation. It's almost foreign to him. They've worked so hard to raise their bravery in this moment. They know this could be a very perilous thing, but they don't seem to give a shit about that. They're very jump right into the flames in this. And when you have that little moment of doubt and stuff like that, he's not disappointed or looking down on you. He looks confused as to your demeanor.
I imagine with like my insight being pretty high, like I just see him kind of inquisitively looking. I used to be an optimistic storyteller. I used to always shoot for the stars and wish the best for everything and everyone around. But I've spent a long time in a dark place. Words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. If we win this, then it was worth it.
He nods to you in agreement and begins to walk forward. He walks slumped more than the other ones. Remember, using the other two hands and fists on the ground. The one arm is a cane. The other one seems to hold onto his pack and rub on his shoulder. And as they all leave and walk that direction, one of the other men stands behind and is left staring at you. Roll a perception check with advantage.
Smack him in the mouth. Stop staring at me.
Please
Mama,
do. Please do.
Mama never taught you. You said perception check.
Yeah, and then we're going to find out how far down this hole goes.
11.
What'd you roll?
11.
That's better than a 10. That's really, you're somewhere in between Colby and Danny on this one. So let's just go ahead and roll with this and see how it goes. Okay, so with an 11, you recognize that the one standing there looks very similar to the one that you bested in battle. You can see enough of the head jutting out. This one particularly doesn't have any kind of armor on the head, but it has the lower jaw of what seems to be some kind of mammoth, kind of like a large cat that is around its neck as a collar with the fangs sticking up in front of its face. And it seems to be looking at you. And it takes a big deep breath and it sucks in its gut a little bit, and it takes one of its hands and rubs across its stomach area that's now covered up with armor, where it knows that you did the deep cuts onto it. And as it does that, two of the other arms reach down to a sash that seems to be laying on its side, almost like a half kind of cloak thing. It's hanging off from around its waist, and it picks it up with these arms, and in the darkness it reaches that hand out and goes to hand you something. And he kind of looks down and nods his head a little bit, as if to respect you, when he goes to hand you this, and it says in a deep, almost hesitant voice, "You didn't have to do any of these things." He kind of looks up through an eye, shaking a little bit. And he says, "Although your words are fleeting, I have felt your bravery in battle. Let you be reminded." What are you doing in this moment?
Corey's imagining this four-armed monkey throwing poop with four arms. But
Corey would be wrong.
I imagine like Darius, out of respect, takes takes whatever he's handing him and kind of looking at it.
It's crude, but when you grab onto it, I would like for you to do a Arcana check, please, as a spellcaster.
6.
You're not sure. It seems to be a shawl looking out of the hide of some kind of animal, some kind of fur. Very dark. And it appears to be similar to that was wrapped around Lundgren's upper body. This could be some kind of symbol of your stature amongst them for what you've done for besting him in battle. But he seems to be giving this to you as a gift, not only as a gift for being there, but also reminding you what your worth is. It's an interesting moment and when you take that from him and do that, he literally just turns and begins to somber off in the direction of the other warriors. So you have this thing on you. It looks kind of like a wizard's kind of shawl. It's not quite as fancy as what a cloak would look like, but it has that to it. And it's got interesting craftsmanship to it. Nothing fine and detailed, but grand, broad details, almost like Indians with large hands put this thing together with a Mayan twist. There is a makeshift hood on it with that 9. That's about all you could tell. It is a little bit big, to be sure, as you don't think they would make these very often for people that look like you.
Yeah, so I'd imagine like seeing the other guy wearing it. I know how I kind of get an idea how they put it on, except for I wrap it a couple extra times.
Yeah, absolutely, as one would, right? Okay.
Than they normally would, just to pay the respects, and then start heading towards the.
Okay. Now, do you have any spells like identify object or anything like that?
Why would I have that?
I mean, right? Who needs utility when you can just kick ass?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I started this game thinking we had like an actual magic caster or something.
Yeah, that was also a wrong mistake. I was trying to think of what we'd call the move where they throw shit with 4 hands all at once, and it'd be called Shitstorm. And that's going to be a move that they use in Dire Straits. When they're bloodied, they get to do it as a free action.
No, I do not have detect magic or identify. Identify, I just assume like more cleric-y, paladin-y type people would have that.
You will have to talk to some cleric-y, paladin-y people about that and see if they tell you what the hell you've got.
Yeah.
So, for expedience, you guys travel for some time, and when you come to a ridge, further down from the one I described to this group, you see actually swinging rope bridges in very bad in states of disrepair, with large stone pillars on the far banks of both sides of this outstretched canyon that appear to look like either symbols of the Quetzalcoatl or large jaguars. What did we say the name was? Takani? What was the name of that I decided to name the creatures? Anybody remember? I'm gonna look it up real quick. I've got it right here. Just one second. I'll pull it up. Just one second, and I'll tell you. They are called
Takari.
Tecuari. Takari. Yes, good deal. So, or large statues depicting the Takari, the larger, more badass jaguar version of Displacer Beast. They seem to be standing there, large statues that are kind of sideways and twisted as the earth has moved underneath them after years of sitting there. You pass a lot of these bridges that kind of sway like ghosts in through the heavy rain, the thick clouds, and you come to a place and you see not everyone that left walking up through the woods towards a meeting spot. There seems to be a clearing there of some kind where these Ozamen have met before, off in the distance, where they can just see the Temple of Yota. And you see two of the three soldiers that took off on this venture return. One is not with them. And you see the shaman come back. The hair is just soaking wet, laid down flat. Remember, this is the one that had the extra beads and braids and the long dreads of that white gray hair hanging down off of him. A lot more hunchback than the shaman you're used to. And as they come back up the hill, they kind of have a few silent moments and murmurs about what happened. There seems to be sorrow and a bit of mourning about them. You recognize that one of them didn't return. In that moment, if you have anything you'd like to add to the situation, you're more than welcome to. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and continue it on. Is there anything you're jumping in and saying?
I mean, I imagine the leader of the actual Ozamen takes the lead in this aspect.
Okay.
And Darius right now is kind of taking that back seat to allow them to get us to the temple. And he'll deal with any conversations after the fight. Like, only thing on his mind right now is preparing mentally to be ready, because he's going to unleash the beast.
Okay.
Literally the worst way he's ever done. Like, he's going to allow it to take over.
That's going to be fucking... I hope it's as awesome as I hope it's going to be, buddy. So, I'm going to have you, Corey, roll to tell me where the 2 runes went. Now, here's the way we're going to do this. Grab you a 1d6, okay? 1 and 2, and one of the runes went on the east side.
That's where I went. I rolled a 2.
Okay, cool. So the first one went on the east side. A 3 and 4 would be in the middle, and a 5 and 6 would be on the west side.
And the 3 was the second one.
Okay, so we got one on the east side and one in the middle. The west side will not have a rune on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because there was only 2 out of 3 that were successful. So we said east side. We will make that the 15-footer. And then we said the center, which is where you kind of talked about positioning yourself, was it not?
Correct.
And that will be the 10-footer. Okay. Got it. All right. From that moment, after you hear them doing some discussing, Lohengrin comes to you, and has got this look of determination. He says to you, "Go find your friends. We will wait for your signal. Have the Atlati sound us. Let us know when the time is right. Their scion knows how to do this. We will be ready." And he looks at you for a minute to see if you have anything you have to say to him before they start taking down over top of the hills and heading towards the temple and getting into position.
No, I just I'd imagine, like, you know, when he does the like we, you know, we'll be ready kind of thing. Darius just kind of mimics that. I do not know how difficult this is going to be, but I look forward to partaking in the festivities after with you and your kind.
Gives you a long look in its eyes, dim a little bit with the distant thoughts and comforts of another session of sharing some kind of drink sitting along a large fire. You can see that distant moment glass over in his eye as he's having a memory, and with that he kind of erases it from his mind for a minute, gets back onto his game face and looks, and just gives you a slow nod without saying another word. And as they head off into the forest, slow like lumbering giants, and they quickly disappear and erase themselves into the coverage that the jungle provides as they head off in that direction. Several of them walking past you and looking at you very closely and studyingly. It's almost like it's not the pumped up raw kind of shit you would expect. These guys are very somber in this moment. They don't know what they're getting ready to do, but they're very brave. Okay? So with that, Corey, I figure I'm going to have the other group coming up on top of that. They're a little bit closer down to the temple than you had this meeting. Do you want to role play? Do you have a certain spot you'd like to meet them at? We can just make this work. I'm going to say you've kind of scoped out the area and you're waiting for them to show up.
Yeah, I mean, if I know the area and I know where they're coming from, I imagine we set a like, hey, let's try to meet around this space. So I'd be sniffing them out.
Well, I could say, okay, let's just say that maybe, didn't you and Baraxel have a couple conversations?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We could say that maybe he knew about this one place. There was a bridge that used to cross over top of the Great Ravine where there's a part of a broken Quetzalcoatl statue that would have been one of the pillars for these rope bridges. And it's one that kind of lays sideways and has some paint markings on it. And he said he'd want to meet you by there. That would be close enough to where you guys can make your plan and get ready to go, but not too close for it to be dangerous and into Vizillion territory. He would also told you to beware of getting too close to the cave that the Vizillion are at, which is exactly east and west from the place. So you would have tried to stay up high out of smaller ravines to stay out of their nesting, you know what I mean, their cave dwellings, right, and found that place. Okay? So just for the hell of it, do me a nature check. Just let me know what you get, Corey.
Nat 1. Dun, 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 dun.
Natural 1?
Yeah. And my nature is a 4.
For that one, you can't find it. You walk around that area and stuff like that, and you could swear, and you've got that frustration. It's almost like the best laid plans when you're going to pick up a person that said they'd meet you here at this particular time, and you just can't believe it's such a simple thing is eluding you. And it also goes to drive home, you're out of your element here. This is not a city. This is not, you even knew going into the darkness that you had some kind of understanding of what was going there. This hurts your confidence a little bit, Darius. As that natural 1, you have a hell of a time. You traverse that ridge a little bit looking to see if you can find the spot there that would be. It obviously have to be there, right? That's where these other rope bridges have connected to, but man, you just can't seem to find anything. So you would be patrolling back and forth this long 200-yard stretch of this ridge, trying to avoid where the Vizillions might be crossing through. Anytime you'd come across some muddy trail that goes through the center, it looked like tails were slipping through the mud or trees parting, you get these nervous pits in your stomach like, I'm too close, I shouldn't be here. I need to go back to where they said it. They said the thing was like this and it laid sideways. Damn it. You know what I mean? You're going through these emotions. The rest of the group. Who was in lead on this? Was it Bastille and Shakoma still?
Probably.
Okay, Kill Tusk, where would you like to be in this moment? Do you want to be up there with them and consult them about how we're going to approach this?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy, at this point, you still have the warhorse with you.
Only up until it got to the terrain being too rough for the horse to traverse.
Okay. And I would say that horse could traverse a lot, but you would start getting looks every once in a while from Baraxel and Karsu. Strangely, that creature is still by your side. That might have been a clue. You know what I'm saying? But now listen, that's not the DM trying to make things a perfect world. You want to ride that son of a bitch down the hill like a sled? It's D&D, sir. We do these things, okay?
No,
but that's just a look you're
kept
getting.
him for as long as he could have safely taken the horse. Like, he's treating the horse like a living, breathing horse.
Okay.
So if a living, breathing horse couldn't take it, he's not going to make this horse do it.
Okay.
When it gets to that point, he will halt it and tell it to wait.
Okay. When you do you share a communication with it of any kind, or what are you saying to the creature? And Silouan's up on there too, correct?
If she out back up.
Did you, or what did you do?
I think we were all walking, weren't we?
Oh, that's right. He was leading and you were walking along. Okay.
Yeah, everybody. I think I was walking too. I was just taking the horse along with me.
Okay.
Up until a certain point. But yeah, so whenever he goes to take the horse to stay, again, he's treating it like a living, breathing horse. So he's treating, Brahmas is treating the horse like Merc would treat a horse. So he's trying to give it kind of the head rub, and everybody's just hearing kind of the low scraping of metal. And kind of a tink, tink, tink as he's patting it on the head.
Okay. As you do that, something very strange happens, Merc. You feel a gust of air. You smell the outside. This is Merc inside. Enough where it rattles your clothes for just a minute and picks your hair up, and that smell of high altitude air seems to, you pick up the scent of it. It's a sensation that you've had before, different times when you were mortally walking around, but it startles you, almost makes you wordless for just a moment. What is it that you do? This is all moving forward fast and stuff, but as you're looking through these mirrors or these windows like that, this happens to you.
Does it make me feel like I'm not in Kansas anymore?
Absolutely. So just thought process real quick, then we're going to move on. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's something new to him, but he recognizes that this is a position where that's not something to dwell on. Because it's a thought he'll throw to the back of the mind, but he's going to keep it there because he's not used to this kind of thing.
Okay. Valdera would say to Bastille, as she would come up alongside, she would plant the sword into the ground and she would stop and look, and she kind of looks up around. She's looking at the moon going down, and she looks over to the side. And although it's heavy storm clouds and things like that, there is a warmness growing from the ocean side of things. And she says, "Did that bard ever tell you exactly when he was going to be here or where he was going to meet us?"
Nope, not at all.
Looks at Shakoma and says, "Any word to you?" Baraxel walks up and says, "Just up ahead, they said he was going to meet me. It's a pillar of an ancient bridge that had fallen. It shouldn't be but another moment. We should go meet them." He would look over to you and he'd say, "Kill Tusk. Scout ahead for us. See if you can find him or if he has made his way there." Okay? Do you accept this or do you question this?
I would accept.
Okay. So, I want you to do a tracking, okay, as if you are tracking Darius. Okay. Now, you are part ranger, so go ahead and put your bonuses towards this. This should be something you're fairly good at. And I want you to see if you come across his particular boots and his particular smell and things of that nature and see if you're able to find this. And are you using Loki to help you?
Yes.
Okay. Make your rolls with advantage then.
So what skill would it be?
I'm sorry, what?
What skill would this be?
Well, okay. So I would just look on your sheet there and it would either be tracking,
Survival.
survival.
Yeah, I guess I would say survival. Yeah, survival. Because I don't see no tracking anywhere.
Okay.
Nature.
You tell me.
Fall under
Which-
nature.
Nature or survival.
I would say survival because I'm proficient in wisdom.
I like it. So go with it, and you might have skill points to tracking different things too. I mean, it's whatever your skill, your however you spent your points on your sheet. So you tell me what your roll is, what you get. What you got?
19.
19. You do come across several series of boot marks and tracks and stuff they were close. And as you get up there and you look, you can see that there has been a lot of foliage and shit that has grown up over top of that statue and pulled it over at a very almost more awkward than a 45-degree angle as the bank has washed out a little bit from the heavy rains and stuff like that. So the stone wouldn't have been sticking just up and easily to find as Baraxel claimed it. And you think to yourself, that must be why he's not found this. Okay, but the tracks do lead through there. Just in a couple sentences, tell me how you would want to navigate that to hopefully find someone that seems to be wandering looking for this monument. How does Kiltusk go about locating Darius? Do you do a call? Do you hold still to see where he's at and hopefully he'll recross your path? Just give me an idea.
I feel like Kiltusk would also have Loki like sort of follow the tracks as well. And then Kiltusk would stay in the area, but like won't go as far out as like not being able like to see the pillar clearly. But he will have Loki go out further, just in, like and have him like call back sort of if he either found him or found something new.
Okay, I like it. So with that, Darius, you hear steps in like mud puddles in the road and all these little paths and things that you're trying to stay off of. You hear a wet footprint and stuff come across. And as you would turn to look, you would see Loki in the distance, and his head automatically snaps over towards you and kind of turns its head open and opens its mouth and sticks its tongue out, and you hear a clicking sound, and it kind of lowers its head and starts to gallop its way over towards you, recognizing your scent from when you rode it before. What is it you're doing?
So Kiltusk doesn't ride Loki. Like Loki is just Loki on his own.
Yep, Loki's Loki on his own.
I mean, so I'd be looking for them. Does it look like they sent Loki out specifically to search for me?
I think it's safe to say that Loki was looking for you, yes.
Okay. Because, I mean, if I see Loki by himself, the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, fuck. They're dead.
Right. Well, if you want to do a perception check, go ahead and I'll let you know the state of him.
All right, cool. Ooh, 23.
There you go. He is in quite decent order. There are still rations and things in bags on Loki. His gear and the saddle in which Kiltusk rides him is in place and is unhurt. And you can even see the finger marks where mud and stuff has been moved off of Loki, where he's gotten quite muddy recently, but it's been cleaned off by mortal hands.
All right, so
Those things would insinuate that no, he's looking for you.
yeah. So when he gets up to me, then I would just be like, see if he bends over to let me ride him.
He does. He does. He walks up alongside, and he leans his head down, and that big eye kind of closes and then cracks open just a little bit, and you can see the big eye rolling around underneath that scaled eyelid as it's down. Its mouth's open. You can just hear low clicking from its partially gaped mouth.
Yeah, and I remember when he let me ride him last time. So I'm like, okay, this is him saying get on.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'd get on.
Okay. As you do that, without anything more exciting in this moment, you head back, and he's taking you out towards the ridge edge, and you can't help but think, I was just there. There's nothing there. You know what I mean? It's like when someone asks you to go get something out of the kitchen drawer, and you're like, I couldn't find the scissors. It's like, the scissors are in the drawer. Go get the scissors. You know, you're like, dude, I just checked the drawer. That's where he's taking you to. And surely enough, as you head that direction, you see the plumage off of Kiltusk's panacho and hairdress laid back as the first thing that you make out as a color that is against the canopy, as Kiltusk lays in wait beside a very sideways fallen shrine with vines and shit covered all over it. It is not at all as Baraxel explained it to you, and you feel justified in not finding it. So, unless you two want to have an interaction or things of that nature, I can go ahead and just bring the group together, and you guys can go ahead and make your preparations. How much role play do you want to do here, and where do you want to get?
Oh, you mean like me and Baraxel?
No, you and Kiltusk to get back to the group. If you two have an interaction or anything like that, then we'll get everybody together.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I'd imagine that when Loki finds Kiltusk, I'd be, where's everyone else?
Kiltusk, take over.
They are shortly behind. Braxel has personally sent me to scout ahead and as I see, successfully find you.
I don't know these lands, and I seem to have gotten myself quite lost. But what I have noticed is there are many bazillion tracks all throughout these areas. You might know better than I how to track back to their lairs, but or in this case how to track away from them. But they hit the Ozuman that went to set the traps. So I fear that they are aware of our presence, or at least they may bolster their presence now that they know that the Ozumen are joining in on the fight.
What do you do with that information, Kiltusk?
If they now know at least of the Ulran joining this battle, then the people outside must prepare for a more sizable battle outside.
That's fair.
And so this will not become more of a surprise if they did know, and we will not be caught off guard.
Okay.
And
All
as
right.
far as traps, I have a ruin, and he like points to one of the ruins that he painted on himself, and he will continue saying, "I have a ruin for at least me to see traps on the pathways or near the temple."
Do
Nice.
you have any ruins that would assist with stopping a creature in their tracks?
Not necessarily stopping in their tracks. It's not prepared on me, but I do have a ruin that will also enhance my ability to do more damage onto targets.
I don't know if you saw uh, during the battle, during the test, but what I can do is going to come out in its worst form soon. I'm going to allow it to take over. And I was hoping someone had the ability to, without killing me, stop me until I have time to calm down. I sometimes can concentrate and keep my mental focus, but the beast within is strong.
So, Colby, I want to tell you in this moment, Kiltusk would know that Rursi, the cleric that was hurt, had such an ability. And you also know that Karsu, the Scion, also has the ability to pretty much make these large dinosaurs of these lands yield to her and bend their knee to her when she's able to get inside their heads. Now, make from that what you will, you know where she's going to be during all this, right? But those are the only write-off options that you can think of. Other than like maybe some kind of concoction that you've had drink-wise before that you would not have on your person currently. Nor can you think of any kind of herbs or anything that would do the kind of thing that he's thinking of. So that's your information.
And I was also going to say something about the one of my bow's abilities.
Yeah,
That-
go ahead.
that would also-
No,
but
say
I
whatever
also-
you want, but I was just giving you like a history reference. You take it back
Yeah.
over, bud, and then we're going to move on. Yeah.
Brucey, one that was injured, has a certain ability, but since she is not here, you can also count on Karsu. But she will be inside. But unless it's okay if you are hurt or willing to, if in the worst case, needing me to sort of fire an arrow at you that has the ability to grapple you with like these thorn vined things, it can grapple you and put you in place, but you will take damage over time if you don't break free.
I would say you do what you must to keep yourself and those of our friends on the battlefield safe if I cannot control it.
Colby, you noticed that he looks, or sorry, Kiltusk, you noticed that he looks a little different. And he seems to have some kind of shawl or some kind of cloak or some kind of covering that is wrapped around him. You've seen Ozaman wear these similar things before. I would like for you to roll me a history check, please. Looking for a DC of 16.
Uh, 21.
A 21. Dude has a primitive makeshift version of a displacement cloak on him. It's the hide, primitively done, but it is the hide of a displacer beast that has been crafted into this and has that wrapped around him. That is new. And that is something that you have actually looked at before and thought that would be cool. You know, especially when you've had interactions with them and things of that nature. You remember a particular time when an Ozoman warrior was found dead, and those belongings were taken back to them, and amongst those belongings was this a fur that looked very similar to this, which is, with that history check, is what draws your attention to it. I just want to let you know that. You notice that he has been amongst them, and he is, you know, he came home from Hawaii with the flowers wrapped around his neck. You know, he's seen the people. He's been there.
Yep. I got laid.
Darius got laid by monkey men throwing shit at him. Yes.
Yeah. And I gave a couple of them aid.
Shitstorm. So moving forward, just some information that now you have. Is there anything else you two would like to discuss before I get you back to the group?
Nope.
We good? Okay. So at that point, they arrive. Colby is not there. It is Killtusk, and Killtusk would be leading Loki. Corey, would Darius be walking at this point as well?
Sure.
Okay. So the band's back together. Is anyone saying anything to Darius? Valdera would want to, but if someone else wants to jump up and say something first, they're more than welcome to. Does anyone have anything to say to Darius as he's been gone overnight? And a lot of us are probably very curious as to how it went.
Ramos will step forward. You seem to be well. How did things go?
Well, I learned that the corruption seems to be stemming from the land itself, the area in which that they reside. It's corrupted from deep within somehow. I'm not sure, but my test yielded less effective outcome than I expected. I was unable to do more than ease the animal within. The corruption still held strong. They're more strategic than I expected. They had a battle map that they had constructed to use their forces, with more information on what to accomplish. So I assisted with that, and unfortunately, the group that was sent to set up the traps was only partially successful. So while I'm confident in the front in which I'm going to be in, and the east side or the west side,
What side?
the east side is going to be slightly compromised. So I am going to mention that they move some of their forces from the front to that side just to bolster it a little bit more than it was originally intended. And like, you guys look pretty, like you guys are
Frazzled. Frazzled is the word. Yeah, Valdera would come up after that and would give Bastille kind of a sideways look and would look over at them, and she says, how close have you been down there to that thing yet? Have you been close enough to see what's sitting upon it, or are you just going by the word of the other ones that went down there to lay the traps out for you?
I personally did not see, as I did get lost in the forest. I'm I'm one for the city life, not for this. But the Ozuman had a very well put together battlefield map. So while I did not see it exactly, I could get a good understanding of what to expect. One of the biggest things being that with the area flooded, even though the Vasilian do not tempt going inside the temple, they have many access points compared to just simply the outside upper entrances.
As Valdera kind of gets this kind of confused look on her face a little bit sarcastic, goes, afraid to go inside? And as she gets ready to ask why, Karsu speaks up, the Scion. She comes walking up in between Valdera and you and says, she looks over at Silouan for a long moment. She goes to say, Scions, and she stops and she looks over at Silouan for a minute and she goes, my people and my mother. Their souls dwell inside of the temple. As long as they know that we're there to help, we should be safe. But someone there to destroy what has been built there would surely suffer their wrath. Many. She looks back over at Braxel with a little bit of pained look. Many Atlati warriors have died trying to keep that temple from being overrun. My mother, along with others, I'm sure, guides their souls throughout the halls and the ancient passages. I actually hope that I'm able to find her and speak with her, so that she may help us and guide us back into making it a working structure once more. They dare not go in there. That's all she says.
Says so. All we've got to do is get in, and they're not going to follow.
Valdera would look around, look to the right and left. She says, so maybe you won't be so bored in there after all, Bastille. She grins. She goes, she chuckles a little bit. And she's thinking about the dynamic of how this might work and stuff. She goes, so am I thinking that I'm going to stand outside the doorway and just tempt these fuckers in? And they're going to back away like vampires to the sun? Is that what we're saying here?
And she can for them that's the case.
The Bass says, maybe you should slaughter them all. Because if one of them runs for help when we come back out of the temple, we may have an army waiting for us.
She looks kind of, Valdera has a look of excitement for just a minute when you say that, but then she settles herself. She almost feels like she lost her composure. And she goes, but we're thinking that if we get the temple working right, we shouldn't have to worry about these things. Right, Karsu? Karsu looks over at Braxel, and for the first time, the Scion looks a little nervous. Showing her age a little bit, maybe. And with that, she looks over and she goes, yes, it must be that way. We just have to be able to understand Baka's gifts. It will work. Yes.
I think as Karsu's kind of looking a bit more nervous, you said
Yeah.
she was kind of showing the age a bit,
Definitely.
especially kind of seeing that like super nervous, kind of scared little girl that she once was. I think she may step up and maybe try to put like a hand of comfort on her shoulder, just sort of like an unspoken like support type thing.
Yeah. With that, as you do, she looks over at you and her hand comes up to hold it onto her shoulder. And she straightens her chin up a little bit. She takes a deep breath in. She looks across and she relooks at Braxel again. And she looks at Valdera. Intense. And proud. And says, "It will work. That laddie were guided once by the spirit of Baka, and those times are coming back. We haven't had the help of outsiders since the destruction. But now we do. I've only imagined it in my dreams, and I've only seen it through images. As a scion, I'm privy to the memories and dreams of those that have come before me, and I've seen its greatness." She closes her eyes. "I've seen what it can do. It will work. We just have to get there together." Valdera comes up and puts her hand on the other shoulder of the scion. Looks at her and says, "Little girl, you're getting there. You don't have to worry about that." Valdera looks over to Bastille and gives him a knowing nod. "Well, looks like Wrathhaven's getting bloody." And she draws a sword out, the big old great sword, and draws it down and sits it into the ground, leans on it. She goes, "We ready?"
Bass reaches down and he takes that pouch of the blast powder that he has with the lightning in it, and he passes that over. He says, "You'll have to rub this in the blade yourself this time."
She just kind of winks and takes a hold of it. When she takes hold of that pouch, you'd see a little bit of static electricity pulse around audibly against the dark gloom of the night. You would see it almost kind of like if you're taking a shirt off in a dark room and you see static jump around and shit like that. That's what you see as she takes a hold of this pouch and she puts it over there and wraps it up to her side underneath of the big fur mantle that's on her clothing. She puts it underneath and hooks it.
You want to write that down? I'll just erase it off of the line.
I already did. I was just doing it. Okay. So, with that, does anybody else have anything before we start walking towards this thing?
Bass would take just one moment to look in his journal to see if there was ever a reply about there being a living seraphim.
No. Intentionally, no. I thought about that 2 days ago. Not yet. So, do you remember the last reply you did get?
I'm not sure. I have to look.
It's all good. But for now, no, nothing. Nothing yet. You remember, I think Vander sent you an idea that, okay, he needed to look into some shit. And
Yeah.
you're waiting to see his results on that?
Yeah, that's
Nothing yet. Your mind, I'll present you two things. Either he hasn't found what he needs yet, or he's afraid to tell you how big a deal it is. You know how he is. It could be probably one of those two things. You can't see it being anything else. That fair? Okay. So, how are we wanting to approach this? The rain is still pretty heavy out. We're dense. You've got about a half a mile to walk down this slope, and from what Shikoma and Baraxel have mentioned, a lot of these long rope bridges and stuff that go across are pathways to get from one island to the other up along the side. Now, with this waterway, or with this temple down in the center, as you get close to the temple, there are stone sets of stairs that are cut into the walls on the insides of the canyon walls. They're dangerous. Okay? But they are, back when this was all put together, you could traverse them, but it was dangerous. Okay?
Bass would look and he said, the plan is still that Promise, Scion, Braxel, and myself are going inside, correct? Silo, I believe you're going as well.
Yes, I'm going inside as well, and it's Karsu.
And she wants me to call her Karsu. She'll let me know. And he nods to her because she hasn't given him permission to call her by name.
Oh, it's all good. Play your character. I love it.
He looks over and he nods kind of low to the Scion, and he says, I have a question for you. If I make it so quiet, if I cast silence, can you make it where we can all talk to each other the way you talk to me?
She thinks about it for a moment. Her mouth goes agape in her eyes, and she thinks for a moment on it, and she reluctantly kind of shakes her head no. Slowly, she goes, I'm not saying that I might not in the future, but I don't have anything quite like that currently, Bastille.
But you can talk to one of us at a time.
I can.
So then you can relay anything if I'm leading. Because he looks at Brahmas and he goes, he'll try, but he's not going to be quiet.
She looks over and smiles. Baraxel stands up and walks over and he goes, we won't have to be that quiet as long as we're able to get inside.
But if we can sneak in ahead of them, and when the battle starts, they rush, we won't have as far to go to get inside. The best thing to do is to keep the Scion as far away from battle as possible. When we get in, we'll deal with whatever's in there a step at a time. But if we can avoid a mass battle while we're trying to watch, I think that would be best.
Okay, so let's have some fun in this moment. Now I get to hear you all come up with a plan. As messy as this could possibly be, feel free to talk normally. Consider what your characters are doing. If there's a moment you want to role play, do that. And I want to hear the plan. If you want to ask me details about what's going on down there and around this, I will speak on Shikoma's and Karsu's and Baraxel's behalf. All right. I've already told you about the stairways that go down the canyon sides that are treacherous. They used to have different railings and things that held them up, but those were things that were man-made from wood and vines and shit. Who knows how much of that's still there? Dice rolls are going to decide that. Okay? And it's a long fuck way down. Just so you know. Okay? So, I want you guys to talk amongst each other, in and out of character however you want to. March in order. If you're going in the dark, if you're wanting to sneak in, you're wanting to rush in, have the conversation. I am going to enjoy this.
It has been established that there are more seraphims in there, whether disrepair or statuesque. Either way, there are more Brahmases inside that temple.
Danny, is that what you heard?
Yes, and one of them is a true seraphim.
So, yeah, he would kind of tap on his chest. and look at Bastille. Perhaps it wouldn't be a bad idea to allow me to walk the halls outside of the silence. If anything's in there and they see a living, walking statue, it might just scare it out themselves.
It's a good point. So then he looks and he's still calling her the Scion until she says differently.
Which is absolutely fair. I think just instinctually, like me as a player, I'm having that gut reaction of like, oh, I really hate like that sort of dehumanizing sort of like title, but it makes it like, yeah.
Well, I think it's a real interesting take on it too, because I love that where someone's coming from with that. Mm-hmm. But also, it's interesting because I try not to think about it too much, but Bastille's version of it is. That's what she's called. She's earned that title. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to seem disrespectful to their... So you almost have like our one side of it, and you have this very militant kind of side of ideals. It's interesting because they're both trying to be considerate in different ways.
I just love the idea that every time he calls her the Scion, someone's eye twitches.
That's up to someone.
Well, yeah, because like I think there's a different, at least what Sylvan may be thinking is there's a difference between like you chose a path and you earned the title versus you were born into it and it was forced upon you.
Yeah.
Like at this point, she is the Scion because she is the daughter of the Scion and she inherited the Scion powers and she doesn't even think of herself as a person. Just kind of.
That's fair.
And Bass looking at it though would be like, he doesn't call King Omadon. He calls him the king. And
that's such a good point. That's such a good point.
Same way. And because he actually does serve the king, believe it or not.
No shit. Holy cow. What was that? Is that a dinosaur coming, Jeremy? What's going on, buddy? Shit.
So,
out of the woods.
So Bass says, so then if you're going to, because I have no doubt you'll make it to the entrance, then if we sneak in and wait for you there, you may be a greater distraction than the rest of the battle entirely. And he looks to Braxel and he says, you know the path. I can keep us quiet. And if it's one or two, I could take them down quietly.
He looks over at Karsu. He goes over and whispers something into her ear, trying to give her an idea. She looks back over to you and she kind of smiles. And she goes, and I may be able to charm some of them too. Although once I go inside, I don't know how long I could hold that. And she looks down kind of upset. She goes, sadly, they may have to be defeated in order for this to work and stop more death. But I am skilled at overthrowing the mind of their kind.
Bass says, if you're holding onto their mind, will you feel it when they die?
Yes and no.
We'll use that as a last resort.
She just kind of nods her head.
I'd spare one so young from taking a life.
Valdera says, that's fine and good and all, but don't think for a second that one of those things wouldn't have you on one of those spears staked up to put fear in the mind of any outlaw to be around here. They're on the wrong side of things. Make no mistake. She looks over at Brax and goes, you know this. He's sitting back there with his arms crossed. He just kind of heftily nods his head in agreement.
Bass says, I said that I would spare her from it. You have no reason to doubt that I'll do it.
Valdera puts her hand up and goes, you are good at words. Okay. Anyone else chiming in? What we got going on? So far, what's the plan?
My thinking is that Brahmas goes in first. They follow a few moments behind, sticking to the shadows, staying silent. And Brahmas is going to lumber around like a recently started moving statue with a limp and a heavy step and a dragon of the sword.
When you're inside.
Yeah,
Okay.
once he's inside, he's going to try to act as animated statue as possible. And
Okay.
in 300 years, surely to God, he has seen something like that he can mimic.
What if we head out and we're in position first, then you make the distraction? If we're there and you draw them away, they won't look back.
But he say he's not doing that till he's inside, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm talking about Brahmas entering the temple first.
You mean on
And
the
you
outside
guys
of the
come-
temple?
Yeah, once we get, well, whatever we do to the temple, I don't know. I'm just talking about once we get into the temple, Brahmas goes first, and then everybody else follows behind.
Well, inside the temple shouldn't be an issue. They're scared to go in.
it's getting you to the entrance of the temple, and how are we doing that? So make sure to get on the same page.
Intuition of its own tells me that there's not empty halls inside that temple.
Well, absolutely, but
Something's made its way in there by stupidity or otherwise.
first we have to get by the lizard men on the outside. The
Yeah.
Zillion.
We're able to see the temple, right?
You can see the top like 10-15% of it off and on as the clouds roll down deep in this large canyon and stuff, and then sometimes over top and waves of rain will give up. You can see like the top 10 or 15% of it. Yeah.
Is there any statues outside? 'Cause
Roll
my other
perception.
thinking-
Roll a perception check.
My other thinking is that if there is,
And like
I can just
in
make Brahmas look like
Darius, you're there. You've seen what they have put up there as far as that model and stuff. So if you want to add to this equation, you have a rough idea of the layout of this place under those clouds better than any of the other group here, practically, because you've seen their mock-up. So use the
Yeah.
information you got.
I mean, I imagine Darius, like if we're all discussing it, Darius would have kind of gave you all that whole process where he described, the battlefield and such, and would have said, like if anything was mentioned about, well, why, like when they were like, well, why, it's like, well, the whole temple has nothing but these statues of that god Baka or whatever,
Yep.
and that's what's keeping them out. So, like in character, I'm confused on two things. One, if the Ozuman believe that the Vizillion do not go inside the temple, they simply post themselves outside the temple as if to bask in the sunlight when it hits the temple rock. That's why they utilize it. It has nothing to do with, the god or whatever, at least from what I can understand. They use it as a heating element to keep their body temperature regulated. But they do not go inside because of the features.
if they were to attack us, it would be solely for the fact that they're savage.
Correct.
It wouldn't be because we were protected.
Ass says that's why we need to move as soon as possible while we still have the cold of night and the rain, because when they warm up, they're going to be faster.
Now, in regards to what you mentioned of the creatures that could be within, or what could be within, if it's flooded, it must be aquatic animals. So if those who are from here, the natives, could give us an idea of what kind of aquatic creatures you may be dealing with down there, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, but what was the scion? No, not the scion. The cleric's name.
Rorsi.
Rorsi said that she has been in the temple, right? So she would know
if it had been infested with spectral creatures or anything of that nature. No.
Braxel speaks up at this. And when he does, Karsu holds on to him and is pulling him as if she doesn't want him to talk about it. Like it's tough. And he looks over and he takes her hand and he kind of pulls it off of him. And he walks forward and he looks at you, Darius, and he looks at Bastille and he goes, I'm the reason Yeota perished. I failed her. I was here as a young man when the temple was taken. Shikoma speaks up and she goes, that was not your fault. You cannot take... He holds his hand up and he stops her. And he says, it will not be flooded on the inside. It was created to move the water. Make it flow the way that it sees fit. It is a complex creation of stone and gears and things that I have never seen anywhere else in my years. Yeota understood these because she was given visions as to how. And Karsu will too. She will see her mother's work done. And I will not fail her line again. And he walks back.
Bass looks
Brian.
up to him before he goes away. He says, fall 7 times, get up 8.
Okay.
A friend of mine, a former gladiator, told me that.
He looks very intense after saying those things, and he walks over to her and he kind of rubs her bald head. Kind of like a dad would a little kid, just trying to play off the words, but she still has a sad look on her face. For him to talk about that and admit that, it's obviously something he doesn't talk about much. Corey, yes, what were you saying? You said Brian.
So, in major cities, is there irrigation and is there sewers? Is there?
Yes,
are
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, like, as he says that, after Bass says what he says. So it sounds to me like it's mechanisms within the temple that allow the water to flow accordingly, similar to what you would see as a sewer system underneath the city that allows the water to flow waste outside of the city and fresh water inside the city.
Shikoma speaks up. She goes, the older ones called it Mekon. Merc, you know exactly what that is. You've heard it. You've never heard them say the word right out front. And this is the first time you have heard them say this. Bastille knows what the word Mekon means also. And to see people saying it from here is fucking wild. Go ahead.
Bass looks immediately to him. With there being a seraphim in that word, half that city may be a fallen citadel.
Baraxel and all the Atlatties seem to be somewhat confused. Killtusk, if there anything you want to add to this, you're more than welcome to. This is a good conversation. Let it roll, man. Whatever you got to do.
Bass would say, did the Mekon come from the sky?
Baraxel nods to the young scion. And she looks up and she speaks as if she's rehearsed this from a history book. And she goes, not from the sky, not from the birthplace of the sun, but from the womb of the earth itself. It is this It is as if the cracks that the end. I'm trying to remember how I pronounce it. They don't call it the Terraste. What do they call it? The Terrachua?
Yeah.
I think it was the Terrachua. She goes, in the broken earth that the Terrachua created from its awakening from Volaton. She goes, the Mekon were given to us as gifts from the destruction, so we could learn from the mistakes of their people. They asked for too much, and they received it. The Mekon that was given to my mother and the other Atladi helped us in ways that are unimaginable. And sadly, are lost to us. But inside that temple, and she looks down over the side, and she takes a deep breath and she looks down, there we will find those ways again. They are a gift from Baka, from the earth, to us, uncovered from the destruction and brought back into the light. Baraxel just kind of nods as if he's very proud of her for knowing that word for word the way she does. He's kind of gives a, you know what I mean? Like a very knowing and proud kind of thing that she's stating it so well. End scene. Go ahead.
Well, what we've got to decide now, are we going to get in place and let them make the distraction, get us in, and then we'll wait for Brahmas at the door and the rest? But we need to make a decision quickly, because if we lose the darkness and the rain, we're not going to be able to sneak.
Valder
Does
speaks.
Bazillion,
Go ahead.
if the Bazillion know anything of the Mekon or of anything otherwise, they may have more influence here than we may expect it.
Shakoma speaks up and she goes, from what I've seen back in the days when I would come here as a young girl and try to fight back these creatures, they know enough to break it. It is their, well, how do you, their destructive ways. They have built up dams all throughout the lands in the next island over. They have clawed upon this once mighty temple and found ways to break the seals and open the dam and let the flooding in from the outside laying bay and the oceans. She goes, they knew enough to break it. And that's all they know, is how to destroy things. She looks over at Valdera and how to destroy people. Her jaw tenses up.
Promise to look over it fast. Sounds like it'd be a great idea to give them the invitation to try breaking me.
Well,
I like it.
they kind of already tried when they attacked us previously. But
If I walk up to the temple and claim to be a weapon of the island,
they are not going to care what you are, what you say you are. They are going to attack because you are not them. They are primitive. They're animals. That is how we must treat them. There's no need to stealth and be sneaky. We have the Ozumen on our side. We just call upon them when we're ready to go in. We rush in. We hold place. The Ozumen, myself, and I believe Kiltusk is standing outside as well.
I think he said, yeah.
Yeah. We will hold them off, even though I doubt they're going to go inside anyways, but we will at least continue to fight them from the outside.
Braxel nods in agreement heavily with what you're saying, Darius, and looks over and says, he is right. That is what they'll do. That is what they have always done.
Which makes it easy to sneak by them. And keep
Easier or
her.
not, we'll get by them.
You assume the ones going inside the temple would be best to rush.
If we all stick together, we get you into the temple first. We focus outside the rest. You're not going to sneak by anything. These creatures have been here much longer than us. They are here. I'm sure they have set up their own traps.
Interesting point. Silwyn, do you have anything to add to this? As you're hearing this debate go on, it's interesting stuff here, so throw it in if you get a chance.
Yeah, I apologize to me as a player. My brain is a little bit mush.
No, I know.
but-
For all those that cannot see Bella right now, Bella has. We don't talk about outside lives too much here for just for personal reasons, but she's been very busy the last several days, and she is like, I think she fell asleep literally like 10 minutes ago.
I have been awake this whole time. I am just my brain.
You're all. I just want to give you the opportunity. So
No,
yeah.
I think her main prerogative is more so sticking by Brahmas as as can be, like if it was like
Yeah.
sticking by him as she can and protecting Karsu. Those are her kind of main goals. The method of doing so, I think she's cares less about the intricacies. I can speak, I swear.
You're getting up into your syllable level for this amount of sleep. You need to be careful. 3 syllable words or less, man. It's all good. Oh, you're so going to make me pay for this, I can tell. I'm taking advantage. I'm being a smartass, and I know she can't slap a crap out of me. She's too tired. I understand. It's all good. So, with that being your focus, you're just kind of thinking these things through. You're hearing what everybody's saying, and Sylvan's coming to her own kind of conclusions in her mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know the one thing that she has sort of in her back pocket is she does have that sort of invisibility sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
So she is in the back of her mind, gonna try to hover around Karsu a bit, and then if something looks really, really dicey and like we need to get Karsu out of there, she would kind of use her wing to block in front of Karsu and just touch invisibility, so then she is out of the picture per se.
Well, do you just kind of present that to the group just like that? You say that?
Probably,
okay.
yeah.
With that, now I want to make a mention of this real quick too. I'm playing Valdera in this because I love playing a character and I love my character. By no means is Valdera right about anything. Let me explain that one more time. The big problem with people playing a character in the game and being a DM is because they could cheat. That's no fun for me. I know Valdera, I know how she thinks, and now she's going to say something. Take it or leave it. Okay? Because I like to do both sides of this shit too. So after Silwyn says this, she looks over at Bastille and she looks over at Silwyn. She says, and she goes, so we combine the ideas. I mean, right? Listen. And she holds her hand up and she looks over at Brahmas. And she goes, I want a piece of these scaly bastards too. But something I've learned is it's not going to matter to them because they kill their own kind anyway. But we do need to reduce their numbers if the Ozamen are going to be helping us, right? She goes, and Bastille, I know you're wanting to kind of sneak in underneath the veil of darkness. Why not use both? That's what I'm suggesting. We go with Bastille's thing and we go gently in there as far as we can. And she looks over at Baraxel. And she looks down at her edge of her sword in the ground, Wrathhaven. She goes, and when the night and the silence that he provides us fails, and they do see us coming, that's when you guys make for that fucking door. And we all stand our ground like we knew we'd have to, which is why we came here. That's what I suggest. We let Bastille take us as far as we can. Silwyn can help cover her. And we do that for as long as we can use it. And when the time comes to fight, you guys make for that with everything you've got, however you creatively can. And I'm not taking a step further than a few inside that door, and I'm taking heads. How's that sound?
With the sort of invisibility thing, that is sort of a last sort of stitch back pocket method, because I'm not sure what we're going to encounter in there. It could be a walk in the park. It could be something I highly doubt it's going to be a walk in the park, in fact.
She goes, we won't find
I
out
have
unless
one.
we get in there.
One more
But
time. The reason I'm saying that the party going in, if we can sneak by without any confrontation, then that saves everything we've got for inside. But if we're gonna kill them all, if that's everybody's plan, then I'll leave bodies all over that place. But I can't guarantee you what I'll have left when we get in there.
She goes, I'm much better swinging at stuff in a doorway than I am climbing over a temple. Let's get to the doorway.
2 questions. One out of character.
Oh, yeah.
The Ozuman that set the traps, did they say if any of the Vasilian that attacked them got away?
They did not mention it. Well, here's the thing. You don't remember that there was a certain amount of them. They didn't really get attacked by the Vasilian. The one fell into a trap and got poisoned and died from the injuries. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then the other ones, they weren't able to perform the painting and ritual right because of the heavy rain and because they lost that extra person. They didn't realize how to correct the amount of cover they needed to get it put on the stone.
No, I was just so they did not get attacked, but I thought you said they got attacked by Vasilian.
No. It was the Vasilian was the difficulty of how many was around, how sneakily they had to be. But no, they actually did not get attacked.
I got you. I just wanted to make sure that before I said something.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Shit.
I love it. Bella's like, kiss my ass.
Yeah, I had a
bedtime.
So, Promise will look at Bast, and then look at Silwyn. Silwyn, you have my back, right?
Always.
Bast. Carry us as close as you can with your silence. If that fails, and we are seen, you take Shikoma and run as fast as you can. Silwyn and I will fight to the door.
Valdare starts grinning.
We will make it in.
Valdare's like grinning on her head. Go ahead.
Bast kneels down in front of Karsu. He says, Scion, can you stay close to me? How fast can you move?
I'm quick and agile. I have no problem keeping up with you, especially in something that my own people have made. I can stay with you.
4 steps behind me, no closer.
4 steps.
No further.
Okay. She has a little bit of doubt in her eyes, but she's nodding through it. She's being headstrong about it, but she has a little doubt behind her. You know what I mean?
As he says that, he nods towards Braxel, and he puts her 4 steps behind.
Okay.
Because of range.
Oh, okay. Okay. I get it. Tell me outside of game, and that is for the range of one of the abilities?
It's to keep, if she's 4 steps behind him, anything that jumps out, he'll be able to keep her out of range while still taking battle.
Okay.
4 steps is a little over 5 feet.
I get you. So 5 foot distance in the game. Okay, I'm with you. Got you. All right, cool. she understands, and Baraxel's by her.
There's the battle plan.
And then he looks to Baraxel and he says, and I assume you're going to run with us.
He looks over at Karsu and he says, we have both grown so much. Our pain, our people's suffering has made us stronger, has it not? She looks up and closes her eyes and just gives a long forward nod, right? And he says, he looks at the rest of you and Bastille nervously for a minute. And he goes, I'm with you. But if they fail at the door, the entranceway, I can't protect you anymore. I go with you inside. That could change depending on how these warriors hold the front door.
If we break for it, you're 8 steps behind me. 4 behind her, always looking over your shoulder.
Done. Okay.
I'll try to draw the attention the best that I can.
Okay. So we got our marching order. You guys feel like that's a pretty good plan? You got it?
Well, Bastille definitely prefers his, but he'll go with the consensus. And
Well, it's a hybrid, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, it's 10:44. We will make our march on this together as a group when we decide to do that. Okay? Let me go ahead and turn the music down here real quick. Now, just some little things before we end for tonight, and Bella can finally get some shut-eye. My goodness, dragging this poor girl through the mud. That was really interesting. It's cool to see you guys come up with that idea. I love the fact that at the end of every episode, I'm like, man, some really good shit happened there. It's true. So some really interesting stuff. Necessary steps, man. I want to get to these maps so bad. Worked my ass off on them, but it is what it is. We have to get there, right? We have to go through the process. So, I know, Corey, did you say that you were going to be off the next couple weekends?
Yep.
Okay. And you're, like an expecting mom. So your due date to come back is when exactly?
I mean, I'd say the next 2 weeks guaranteed off. The next 2
Okay.
Saturdays.
And then the third one is when
Probably.
we're thinking about being back in the game, correct?
Yeah.
Possibly. Okay. So if these guys have get the itch, we'll go ahead and say, since this is the 20th, we'll go ahead and take next weekend off. Okay. Unless me and Corey can have a conversation. He feels okay missing at least one part of this. Okay.
I mean, I told you what Darius is gonna do.
Okay. I know.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. I get it. And I do want to do it justice, and I got your spot set up. I've thought about that quite a bit. So the rest of you, I don't know what your schedule's like. Who's going to be able to make it next Sunday? Jeremy's in.
Sure.
Bella's pretty sure she's in. Colby he's good. McGuffey, you don't know for sure because of work, correct?
Right.
Okay. And I'll talk to Sean and see how all that goes moving forward. So, if anything, if we at least get 4 or 5 of us, we'll go ahead and go forward, and I'll talk to Corey. Now, will you be in the middle moving and shit? Is that what's going on, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm moving Saturday. This
Okay.
Saturday coming up. And then
Okay.
I have to set everything up. So that's why definitely this Sunday coming up is 100% a no-go. I don't even have internet on the house until Monday. And then the following week, probably no, because I'm just moving in and getting settled, blah, blah, blah.
Dude, I completely get it. It's a worst case or the best case scenario. We can always have someone send you a text message like, holy shit, this just happened. What would he do? Just for fun and to see what you text back and say. But that's a perfect world. It's all good. So we'll get in a little bit more of this before I get off here, but we'll go ahead and stop the recording for tonight. We'll go ahead and get everything set up here so I can do that. in unison. Okay, as I take both hands, they're on two mice at the same time. Thanks for hanging in there and watching another one, man. Had some good shit. I think we've got a pretty solid plan on moving in here. We didn't have to do battle with that big bastard. That's a plus. I thought maybe we would, but it's all good. So with that, I'm Brian Kynes saying thanks again, and we will talk to you guys next Sunday. Take care of yourselves, everybody.